Chapter 3476. Instant Kill. No wonder he is the most talented genius in the Wu Tower. Even his heart is so broad. He did not take advantage of the nameless rogue cultivator and let him make the first move. Wu Juanhao is really a role model for our generation. Haha, this is the demeanor of an expert. Of course, I think that even if the nameless rogue cultivator made the first move, he would still die. He is no match for Wu Juanhao. Wu Juanhao's words made many of the surrounding cultivators look at him with admiration. They felt that Wu Juanhao was very gentlemanly. Zhuan looked at him strangely and asked, "You really want me to make the first move?" Wu Juanhao looked at Zhuan from the corner of his eyes. The aura on his body was vast and terrifying. His voice was full of authority as he said, "Humph. This is the only chance I'm giving you, because you're going to die a humiliating death later. This is your last chance to perform." Zhuan laughed. His laughter was full of mockery. Then, the purple soul sword essence in his spiritual soul suddenly shot out. In an instant, it pierced through the chaotic starry sky and rushed towards Wu Juanhao's forehead. Zhuan was still standing at the same spot and looked at Wu Juanhao indifferently. Originally, he had wanted to have a good fight with Wu Juanhao to test the true strength of his original body. Unfortunately, Wu Juanhao was too pretentious. He actually gave Zhuan a chance to make the first move. Well then, Zhuan did not hold back and directly blasted out the soul sword essence. This was the first time he had used the soul sword essence since his spiritual soul had transformed. Even he did not know how strong the soul sword essence was. He might as well let the arrogant Wu Juanhao be his guinea pig. Wu Juanhao was aloof. He looked at Zhuan with his nose up, as if he was looking down on Zhuan. Many of the foreign race cultivators clapped their hands and cheered for Wu Juanhao. They felt that Wu Juanhao was too gentlemanly, and their mouths were full of praises. But soon, Wu Juanhao's face changed. His face became even more ferocious and twitching. The soul sword essence was already very close. Wu Juanhao felt the danger and quickly retreated. "You actually noticed? Unfortunately, you're not fast enough." When Zhuan saw Wu Juanhao constantly retreating, the mocking smile on his face deepened. With a thought, the purple soul sword essence instantly rushed into the depths of Wu Juanhao's forehead. Spiritual attacks were formless and incorporeal to begin with. Since outsiders could not sense it, they naturally could not see it. However, there were still some cultivators with sharp divine senses who sensed the aura of the spiritual soul sword intent. Their expressions changed slightly and became very serious. Wu Juanhao screamed in agony. His face was completely distorted as he clutched his head and rolled on the ground. His voice was too shrill, like a pig being slaughtered. "Poochie!" In the end, Wu Juanhao spat out a mouthful of blood. His body twitched, and his aura slowly dissipated. Finally, he was completely motionless. Zhuan looked at the motionless Wu Juanhao and heaved a sigh of relief. His heart was filled with bitterness. Just now, when he used the divine soul sword intent, he had consumed a lot of his divine soul, and now he had a splitting headache. However, the power of the divine soul sword intent was beyond Zhuan's expectations. It was actually so powerful that Wu Juanhao's divine soul was directly destroyed. I should use the divine soul sword intent less in the future. It consumes too much of my divine soul sword intent. Zhuan smiled bitterly and warned himself in his heart that he definitely could not abuse this move. At this moment, the entire place fell silent. The onlooking cultivators were all confused. Wu Juanhao had his hands behind his back just now, saying that he would let Zhuan have a move first. He had the demeanor of a powerful expert. However, in the next moment, this Wu Juanhao, who was acting tough, collapsed to the ground and died. What was going on? At this moment, Zhuan endured his headache and walked over to Wu Juanhao's corpse as if nothing had happened. He kicked at him politely and said, "He actually died just like that? Could it be that he was scared to death because he was afraid of being beaten to death by me?" The surrounding cultivators who had already recovered from their shock were petrified again after hearing Zhuan's words. Scared to death? Was there a mistake? This was Wu Juanhao, the most outstanding half-step heaven-crushing cultivator of the Wu Tower. How could he be scared to death? However, when everyone saw Zhuan stomp on Wu Juanhao's body, the latter still did not move, and they knew that Wu Juanhao had indeed died. However, the way he died was far too strange. However, the cultivators with sharp divine senses from before all had grave expressions. Their eyes were filled with fear and reverence as they looked at Zhuan. They knew that if their senses were not wrong, this nameless itinerant cultivator should have used some kind of powerful divine soul attack to directly destroy Wu Juanhao's divine soul. Meanwhile, Lian Ming and Du Huatsan's expressions changed slightly. They were the most powerful people here, and in the instant that Zhuan used the divine soul sword intent, just now, they had already sensed its terrifying power. However, never would they have thought that Wu Juanhao would be insta-killed. This divine soul attack was far too terrifying. Zhuan kicked Wu Juanhao's corpse a few more times, and then unceremoniously took Wu Juanhao's spirit ring. He did not blush in the slightest. Junior sister, Lian Ming, did you specially come to find me? Zhuan flicked his finger, and a burst of divine flame burst forth, setting Wu Juanhao's corpse on fire. After burning it to ashes, he descended beside Lian Ming and asked with a bright gaze. Lian Ming nodded and said, "Senior brother, I indeed have something to discuss with you. However, there are too many people here, so it's inconvenient to talk." Speaking up to here, Lian Ming pointed at Du Huacan and said, "Senior brother, this person is Saber Tyrant Du Huacan of the 3 Purity Street. He's a famous half-step, heaven-crushing cultivator." Saber Tyrant Du Huacan hurriedly stepped forward and bowed toward Zhuan, saying, "I'm Du Huacan. May I know your name?" "I'm Zhuan." Zhuan replied with a faint smile. "So it's fellow Taoist Zhua. Speaking of which, fellow Taoist Zhua's strength is truly unprecedented. That Wu Juanhao was at the peak of the second blight, but he was insta-killed by fellow Taoist Zhua. Truly impressive." Saber Tyrant Du Huacan gave Zhuan a thumbs up. His eyes were filled with admiration. Zhuan naturally replied modestly. After chatting for a while, he discovered that Du Huacan was quite forthright and straightforward. This made Zhuan have a good impression of him. Lian Ming clasped her hands toward Du Huacan and said, "Brother Du, Senior Brother Zhua, and I still have some important matters to discuss, so we won't stay any longer. Let's part ways here." Du Huacan naturally didn't have the face to continue chatting with Zhuan and Lian Ming. He smiled and silently watched as Zhuan and Lian Ming transformed into a streak of light and flew into the distance on their flying divine tool. The smile on Du Huatsan's face gradually disappeared. His expression became very grave as he looked at the terrifying ruins around him. He knew that after today, the nameless itinerant cultivator's reputation would most likely become even greater. 3 second blight cultivators of the Wu Tower, one of whom was the extremely famous prodigy Wu Juanhao, had all died at the hands of this nameless itinerant cultivator. This was an unprecedented event. If the Tower Lord of the Wu Tower, Wu Taiji, heard this news, his lungs would probably explode from anger. Next, the heaven-accessing realm won't be peaceful. Chapter 3477. God-slaying ground bang. In the Wu Tower, Wu Taiji smashed the desk in front of him. His face was extremely gloomy. He had already received the news of Wu Juanhao and the other 2's deaths. At this moment, his heart was filled with rage, and he could barely suppress it. Wu Xiangjuan stood to the side, her beautiful eyes filled with fear. She didn't dare to speak. Of course, Wu Xiangjuan was as furious as Wu Taiji. Wu Juanhao and the other 2 were all second blight elites. Wu Juanhao was at the peak of the second blight, and his strength was comparable to an ordinary third blight elite. Yet, they were all annihilated. Was Zhuan really that strong? Taiji, that Zhuan is really strange. He actually knows how to attack the soul. Wu Juanhao didn't have any injuries, but his soul was destroyed. Wu Xiangjuan saw that Wu Taiji's anger had completely subsided, and she spoke again, mentioning Wu Juanhao. I underestimated that Zhuowen. I didn't expect him to have such a trump card. Even Wu Juanhao was destroyed by him. Wu Taiji frowned. That Zhuowen disappeared again. After this, he will probably hide. It won't be easy to find him again. What should we do next? Wu Xiangjuan sighed. Can't find him? Not necessarily. As Wu Taiji spoke, he opened his right hand and a purple sword qi floated in his palm. This sword qi was illusory and didn't have a physical body. This is Wu Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes narrowed. This sword qi is formed by the soul. I found it in Wu Juanhao's shattered soul. If I hadn't arrived in time, this sword qi would have been destroyed. I think you should be able to guess that the owner of this sword qi is Zhuowen, and Wu Juanhao's soul was destroyed by this sword qi. This sword qi contains Zhuowen's aura. As long as I have this in my hands, that Zhuowen won't be able to escape. Wu Taiji stared at the purple sword qi in his palm, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Wu Xiangjuan's beautiful eyes were solemn as she cautiously said, Taiji, don't tell me you want to use that method? That price is too high. It's nothing compared to the complete heaven-breaching technique. Wu Taiji said calmly. In an asteroid belt in the chaotic starry sky in the northwest of the heaven-accessing place, on the opposite side of the asteroid belt, there was a huge black hole. The black hole was huge, and it spun continuously. The planets around it spun along with it, and then they were all swallowed by the black hole. This place was called the God-slaying land. It was a very famous and dangerous place in the heaven-accessing place. Any heaven-piercing cultivator who entered this place would definitely die. Even half-step heaven-crushing cultivators had a very high chance of dying if they weren't careful enough. Furthermore, there weren't many good things in the God-slaying land. The price-performance ratio was much lower than the chaotic valley. As such, there were basically no heaven-piercing cultivators who came to explore the God-slaying land. Even half-step heaven-crushing cultivators rarely came to explore the God-slaying land. After all, the losses outweighed the gains. At this moment, Lian Meng controlled her flying divine tool and stopped near the God-slaying land. Zhuowen stood on the deck of the flying divine tool and looked at Lian Meng in confusion. He didn't understand why Lian Meng would stop at the God-slaying land. Senior Marshal Brother Zhua, Master sent me to find you. Lian Meng turned around, her beautiful eyes focused on Zhuowen as she said with a smile. Zhuowen's brows furrowed slightly. In reality, he didn't have a good impression of the Three Pure Ones. He was slightly disappointed that Lian Meng was sent by the Three Pure Ones. Why did the Three Pure Ones send you to find me? Zhuowen asked calmly. Lian Meng looked at Zhuowen with her beautiful eyes and sighed softly. Senior Marshal Brother Zhua, you might have misunderstood Master. Everything he does is for the sake of this starry sky and to defend against the impending chaotic disaster. I know that. However, the Three Pure Ones and I are on different paths now. I have my own path to walk, and he has his own goals. I don't like to walk the path he planned for me. It makes me feel very passive. Zhuowen said indifferently. From Heavenly Armor Star to the Eight Heavens, Zhuowen's path was indeed planned by the Three Pure Ones. It was only after Zhuowen transcended the Eight Heavens and entered Xian, Mi Heavenly Domain that he broke free from part of the Three Pure Ones' influence. Zhuowen didn't want to walk the path of a chess piece again. He naturally didn't want to get too close to the Three Pure Ones. Lian Meng saw Zhuowen's determined appearance and sighed softly. She knew that even if she continued to persuade Zhuowen, he wouldn't change his mind. Master sent me to find you to provide you with the whereabouts of the other two ancestral shaman parasites. Lian Meng said, the whereabouts of the other two ancestral shaman parasites? Zhuowen was startled and looked at Lian Meng. Lian Meng raised her lily-white hand and directly handed over 2 jade slips to Zhuowen. These jade slips record the whereabouts of the other 2 ancestral shaman parasites. One of them is in the depths of the God-slaying land. However, It's very dangerous there. Master said that the places where these two ancestral voodoo goo worms are located are all dangerous places with a high chance of survival. You don't need to be in a hurry. Wait until you are stronger. Then you can explore. Of course, if you feel that it's really dangerous, you can choose not to go. Lian Meng said. Zhuowen put away the jade slips, nodded and said, Junior sister Lian Meng, I'll accept this jade slips. I've troubled you to come this time. After speaking, Zhuowen no longer spoke. Instead, he rushed towards a huge black hole in front of him. His eyes were filled with regret. When he first saw Lian Meng at the entrance of the heaven-accessing secret land, he thought that Lian Meng had completely recovered. Now he discovered that he was wrong. Lian Meng was still under the control of the three pure ones. He even doubted whether Lian Meng still had her own will. Lian Meng silently looked at Zhuowen's back. She didn't speak. The concern in her eyes had already disappeared and was replaced by indifference. When Zhuowen was about several 100,000 li away from the black hole, a powerful gravitational force acted on his body and continuously pulled him towards the depths of the black hole. Zhuowen stopped and quickly retreated. Only after he left the range of the gravitational force did he stop. At this moment, he discovered that Lian Meng, who was originally standing behind him, had disappeared. He knew that Lian Meng should have returned to report. He shook his head and no longer thought about Lian Meng. Instead, he looked at the black hole in front of him with a grave expression. Let's try using my doppelganger. When Zhuowen received Lian Meng's jade slip, he used his divine sense to read the contents of the jade slip. It specifically mentioned that it was best to use the Pangu sacred body when exploring. Zhuowen left his main body and the great world outside the black hole in a safe range. Soon after, his doppelganger, dressed in a black robe, began to approach the black hole in front of him. The gravitational force actually disappeared. When Zhuowen approached the black hole, he discovered in surprise that his doppelganger didn't feel the powerful gravitational force at all. It was completely light. It seems that it's because my doppelganger is the Pangu sacred body. Chapter 3478. Perfecting the primordial mantra thump. Thump! Zhuowen kicked out with his right foot and rushed into the depths of the black hole like a bolt of black lightning. The black hole was huge and pitch black. Even with Zhuowen's divine sense, he could not probe any further. He could only probe a few thousand meters. In the end, Zhuowen gave up on probing with his divine sense. Instead, he used the torch dragon's eyes, which broadened his vision. He looked around and found that he was close to the entrance of the black hole. The shattered planets around him were sucked into the depths of the black hole and eventually crushed into dust. He looked into the depths of the black hole. There, he could feel a mysterious power crushing and annihilating everything that approached it. He knew very well that if he were to get close to the mysterious force, he would be severely injured or even crushed. Zhuowen took out the jade slip and carefully looked at the map of the land of Deicide. Soon, he locked onto a white dot near the depths of the black hole. Upon closer inspection, the white dot was a white vortex that surged with powerful vitality. Zhuowen could tell at a glance that the white dot was the entrance to a space. If the information in the jade slip given by junior sister Lian Meng is correct, then the space inside the white dot is the corpse of a witch ancestor. Zhuowen said as he slowly approached the white dot. Boom! Boom! As he approached the white dot, Zhuowen immediately felt a terrifying crushing force acting on his body, causing countless sparks to burst out from his body. As Zhuowen went deeper, the injuries on his body became more and more serious. He was dripping with blood, almost turning into a bloody man. When Zhuowen arrived at the white dot, his arms were broken and his body was covered with dense and terrifying wounds. Blood flowed all over his body, making him look miserable. After entering the white dot, Zhuowen felt a blazing white light appear in front of his eyes. Then, a powerful vitality entered his body and quickly healed his broken body. Zhuowen lay on the ground and took a deep breath. After lying there for a long time, he got up. He realized that the small world he was in was surrounded by white light. It was a white world. The only thing that was clear was the incomparably huge figure floating in the air. This figure floated in the air. Its face was like a human's, its ears like a dog's, and its body like a beast. Two green snakes coiled around its ears. Looking at the human-faced, dog-eared figure, Zhuowen recognized that it was none other than Shebi Shi, one of the 12 ancestral shamans. The Shibai corpse's eyes were closed, and his expression was serene. The space around Zhuowen was filled with the Shibai corpse's pressure and powerful aura. However, this pressure simply paled in comparison to the pressure of the chaotic starry sky. Zhuowen leaped and landed on the chest of Shebi's corpse. At the same time, he activated the other goo worms in his Pan-Goo sacred body and began to sense the goo worms hidden in Shebi's corpse. Soon, Zhuowen sensed something. His right hand formed into a claw and slammed into the Shebi corpse's abdomen. Whoosh! The moment the Shebi corpse's abdomen was shattered, a shadow instantly swept out. It was so fast that it almost formed a series of afterimages in the air. When this shadow appeared, the space filled with white light was filled with wind, fire, thunder, and other terrifying weather. It was as if this white space had suddenly become a world of unpredictable weather. "Come here." Zhuowen's gaze was like a torch as he stretched out his right hand, causing terrifying energy to explode out. The escaping image wanted to resist, but how could it be a match for Zhuowen? As soon as it tried to resist, it was suppressed by Zhuowen. Zhuowen opened his right palm. In his palm, the Shibai corpse worm was struggling violently and making strange, squeaking noises. It could be said that the Shibai corpse worm was very restless. Zhuowen fiercely slapped the Shibai corpse worm a few times. The powerful palm force formed a terrifying wind. The Shibai corpse worm was beaten until it screamed and screamed again and again. In the end, it succumbed to Zhuowen's tyrannical power. After completely subduing the Shibai corpse worm, Zhuowen did not immediately absorb it. Instead, he took it with him and left this space. His doppelganger had just obtained the corpse of Tian Wu, one of the 12 ancestral sorcerers, and had not completely absorbed the Tian Wu corpse worm. Naturally, he could not absorb a Shibai corpse worm now. After leaving the black hole, the doppelganger met up with the original body. After the two exchanged a look, the doppelganger took the Shibai corpse worm into the big world and began to cultivate in seclusion. Zhuowen estimated that if he completely absorbed these two worms, his Panga's sacred body would undergo an earth-shaking transformation. It was very likely that his Panga's sacred body would directly break through to the mid-9-star stage, and his strength would increase to a terrifying level. Zhuowen opened another jade slip. This jade slip recorded the corpse of another ancestral sorcerer. It was located in a place called Nightmare Abyss. This dangerous place was very famous. It was even more dangerous than the God-slaying land. Many experts had died there. However, the Nightmare Abyss was much more popular than the God-slaying land. Although the Nightmare Abyss was dangerous, there were all kinds of treasures in it. Because of this, there was no lack of desperados who would risk their lives to search for treasures. Zhuowen did not plan to go to the Nightmare Abyss now. Instead, he found a floating broken planet near the black hole in the God-slaying land. He entered the core of the broken planet and opened up a very spacious cave residence. At the same time, he set up complicated and powerful restriction formations around the cave residence. This place was too remote, and it was close to the edge of the heaven-accessing place. He could absorb a lot of chaotic energy to cultivate. He planned to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time. His original body of the human clan had just reached the first blight, and he planned to consolidate his realm. His doppelganger would integrate the two ancestral sorcerer venomous worms as soon as possible to upgrade his Panga sacred body to the mid-9-star stage. At that time, Zhuowen's strength would undergo an earth-shattering transformation. Even a fourth blight cultivator wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Moreover, his divine soul had been transformed by the primordial stone, and he had a unique and terrifying comprehension ability. His current cultivation speed was simply unprecedented. If it were not for the fact that Zhuowen wanted to lay a good foundation, his original body would have no problem breaking through again in a short time. If the three pure ones and Wu Taiji knew about Zhuowen's cultivation speed, it would cause a sensation. Even the three pure ones and Wu Taiji would not believe it. Zhuowen knew very well that his original body of the human clan was his ultimate secret. His cultivation level could not be revealed. For this reason, Zhuowen planned to use the primordial skills as a foundation and based on the primordial skills in his mind to derive the function of concealing his cultivation level. This was because the primordial technique itself had the ability to conceal one's cultivation base. As long as one cultivated the primordial technique, one's cultivation base would be difficult to detect. Even a great carefree realm expert would find it difficult to see through a cultivator who cultivated the primordial technique. The primordial skills was created by him, so it was inevitably incomplete. Therefore, it did not have the function of concealing his cultivation level. Now, Zhuowen planned to cultivate in seclusion, and his original body planned to completely perfect the primordial skills. Chapter 3479. 9 stars middle stage. While Zhuowen was in seclusion, the meeting hall of the Sorcerer Tower on Chaos Street was bustling with activity. Wu Taiji was sitting at the head of the table. Wu Xiangjuan and another expert from the Sorcerer Tribe were sitting beside him. The expert from the Sorcerer Tribe had dark skin and wrinkles all over his face. He looked like a tanned old man. He was the second in command of the Sorcerer Tower, Wu Yangsha. He was second only to Wu Taiji in the Sorcerer Tower. Wu Xiangjuan turned around and whispered to Wu Taiji, "Taiji, in the Desolation Street, the Corpse Ghost Race, Space and Time Beast Race, Dragon Race, Black Tiger Race, Phoenix Race, and Merman Race's primal ancestor level experts are all here." Wu Taiji frowned and asked, "What about the Moon Wolf Tribe, Nine-Tailed Fox Tribe, and Giant Turtle Tribe?" Wu Xiangjuan shook her head and smiled bitterly. "The ancestors from the 3 tribes rejected our invitation. They don't plan to join forces with us to capture Zhuowen." Wu Taiji snorted, but he felt helpless. The 3 tribes were part of the 10 great tribes after all. Their foundations couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, they weren't vassals of the Sorcerer Tower. He didn't have the authority to force the 3 tribes to join forces with them to capture Zhuowen. The ancestors from the Ghoul Tribe, Space-Time Beast Tribe, Dragon Tribe, Black Tiger Tribe, Phoenix People, and Mermaid Tribe had all accepted Wu Taiji's invitation. It was mainly because many of their descendants in the Chaos Heaven domain had been killed or destroyed by Zhuowen. Their grudges were not small. After knowing that the Sorcerer Tower was going to deal with Zhuowen and Zhuowen's subordinates, they all expressed their willingness to help. Of course, Wu Taiji was smart. He knew that the grudges between Zhuowen and the 6 tribes wouldn't be enough to make the 6 tribes do their best. Therefore, he also said that if they could capture Zhuowen together, he would be willing to give them Bing Hui's Heaven Breaker technique for them to study. It was because of this condition that the ancestors came out of seclusion and expressed their willingness to help Wu Taiji capture Zhuowen. "Everyone, thank you for accepting my invitation to come to the Sorcerer Tower. I'm extremely grateful." Wu Taiji stood up and nodded slightly to the crowd. Everyone in the hall also nodded with respect. Tower Master Wu is too polite. The Wizard Tower's matter is everyone's matter. Zhuowen has indeed gone too far, and he should be punished by everyone. Yes, I have long disliked you, Zhuowen. Back then, you actually used the alias of Long when to kill many of our merfolk experts in Sorcerer God City. In the hall, the ancestors of the various races were united against a common enemy. They all expressed their anger towards Zhuowen and wished they could tear Zhuowen into pieces. Wu Taiji smiled calmly. He knew that these people were just putting on an act. What they really cared about was the extreme purple spiritual art that Bing Hui might bestow upon him. Tower Lord Wu. After Zhuowen killed Wu Juanhao, it's impossible for him to appear so brazenly. He must have gone into hiding. How are you going to find Zhuowen? The Phoenix clan ancestor was very calm as he asked in a low voice. You don't have to worry about that. I can find Juwin's tracks. However, I want to see everyone's sincerity first. Wu Taiji said calmly. Hee, Tower Master Wu, what do you need us to do? Just tell us as long as we can help. We definitely won't refuse. The corpse race's ancestor said calmly. Wu Taiji smiled faintly. It's very simple. Each of you must send at least one third blight expert. The moment he said that, the pupils of the 6 ancestors in the hall shrunk and their eyes flashed. Third blight experts were definitely one of the peak experts in their factions. There were very few of them in their factions, only 1 or 2. Wu Taiji actually wanted them to send one of them. His appetite wasn't small. Tower Master Wu, aren't you placing too much importance on that, Joan? You actually need so many third blight experts? The dragon race's ancestor frowned. He felt that Wu Taiji was making a mountain out of a molehill. The other ancestors in the hall were also surprised. They also felt that Wu Taiji was making a mountain out of a molehill. Everyone, you know our Wu Tower's Wu Juanhao, right? He brought 2 second blight experts to kill Zhuowen, but he was instantly killed. What you don't know is that this child has an extremely powerful divine soul attack. Wu Juanhao wasn't prepared and was instantly killed by this child. Wu Taiji said solemnly. What? Wu Juanhao was instantly killed by a divine soul attack. Everyone in the hall was shocked. They all knew that Wu Juanhao was killed by a nameless rogue cultivator, but they didn't expect him to be instantly killed by a divine soul attack. This made everyone's expression turn serious. Even Wu Juanhao was instantly killed. If a third blight expert wasn't prepared, he would at least be heavily injured. Do you still think it's appropriate to only send one third blight expert? Wu Taiji sneered. However, you don't have to worry. My Wu Tower has a secret technique to defend against divine soul attacks. When the time comes, I will teach the secret technique to the people you send to guard against Zhuowen's divine soul attack. Wu Taiji paused for a moment before speaking again. His words put everyone at ease. Good. The Phoenix people are willing to send a third blight expert. The Phoenix people's ancestor was the first to agree. The corpse race is also willing to send a third blight expert. The dragon race as well. In the hall, the ancestors of the 6 races all agreed to send a third blight expert. Wu Taiji smiled when he saw that no one objected. Time gradually passed. Zhuowen had been sitting cross-legged in the cave for more than a month. During this time, his human body had been perfecting the primordial mantra. After all, perfecting a cultivation technique was much easier than creating one. Therefore, Zhuowen didn't spend too much time perfecting the primordial chaos technique. He had basically perfected the primordial chaos technique within a month. The human body's aura had become ethereal and hazy because of the primordial mantra. Most cultivators couldn't see through the cultivation of the human body. The human body in white slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were bursting with joy. The clone has completely refined the Tian Wu Gu worm and the Shi Bai Gu worm. Now it's about to break through. Speaking of this, the human body waved his right hand and a clone in black appeared beside him. At this moment, the clone's aura was very powerful and constantly rising. It was very terrifying. The clone nodded at the human body and left the cave. He directly entered the depths of the black hole in the god-slaying land to begin his tribulation. It had to be said that after the Pangu sacred body reached the 9-star level, the tribulation was very terrifying. The energy of each tribulation could easily tear apart a first blight expert and severely injure a second blight cultivator. However, the Pangu's sacred body was very extraordinary. Especially after reaching the 9-star level, his physical body emitted a dazzling light like a gem. It seemed to have undergone a qualitative leap. Although the tribulation was terrifying, part of it was absorbed by the black hole, and the other part was easily withstood by his physical body. He wasn't affected at all. Chapter 3480. Encirclement and suppression. The doppelganger's eyes were bright. His whole body was emitting a dazzling light that was hard to look at. In particular, that terrifying aura was like a storm that swept through the earth as it suddenly spread out. Instantly, the surrounding starry sky emitted continuous banging sounds that were extremely ear-piercing. The doppelganger was wearing a black robe. The strong wind blew and flapped loudly. The original body stood on a meteorite outside the black hole. He looked at the doppelganger in the depths of the black hole and smiled happily. The Pangu's sacred body at the middle stage of the Nine Stars realm was extraordinary. He was no weaker than a top cultivator at the peak of the third decay. When the original body and the doppelganger merged into one, even a top cultivator at the peak of the third decay would be no match for him. The doppelganger has finally merged the Tianwu goo worm and the Shebi goo worm. Now, I can go to the nightmare abyss to find the Ozi goo worm. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He put the original body into the macro world. His doppelganger turned into a stream of light and flew toward the nightmare abyss. The nightmare abyss happened to be in the opposite direction of the god-killing land. It was the other border of the heaven-accessing realm. The nightmare abyss was not like the god-killing land. It was more dangerous than the god-killing land. However, the chances of finding treasures were also very high. Therefore, this place had always been popular. According to the Jade Slip, the place where the body of ancestor Wizard Ozi was stored was in the deepest part of the Nightmare Abyss. It was called the Nightmare Nunnery. It was said that the Nightmare Nunnery was the most mysterious place in the Nightmare Abyss. Very few cultivators in the heaven-accessing realm could enter the Nightmare Nunnery. Of course, even if a cultivator was lucky enough to enter, he or she would not be able to come out. 3 Pure Ones and Wu Taiji had both arrived at the Nightmare Nunnery. They had a tacit understanding, but they never entered the Nightmare Nunnery. No one knew why. Some people guessed that there was a great terror in the Nightmare Nunnery. Even top cultivators like 3 Pure Ones and Wu Taiji, who stood at the peak of the heaven-accessing realm, did not dare to enter the Nightmare Nunnery easily. In short, the Nightmare Nunnery was rumored to be a magical place. Many cultivators who searched for treasures in the Nightmare Abyss stayed away from the Nightmare Nunnery. They knew their place. When Zhuowen arrived at the outskirts of the Nightmare Abyss, he immediately saw many cultivators flying in groups of 2s and 3s. At the entrance of the Nightmare Abyss stood a gigantic stone statue of a woman. This female stone statue had a human body and a snake tail. Its eyes were very strange. It was clearly carved out of stone, but when one looked into its eyes, one would see a 7-colored light. A large area behind the female statue was shrouded in a thick black fog, making it impossible to see what was inside. At this moment, an endless stream of people had gathered in front of the female stone statue. There were both humans and outsiders. They were all waiting outside the stone statue. Some were whispering to each other. Some were looking around. When Zhuowen arrived here, he did not attract anyone's attention. However, he frowned. The moment he arrived here, an ominous premonition arose in his mind, and his eyelids kept twitching. What happened? Zhuowen's face was a little ugly. His intuition had always been quite accurate. This time, his eyelids were twitching so fast. Something bad must have happened. He spread out his divine sense and carefully inspected his surroundings, but he didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Moreover, before he left, he had completely changed his appearance. Especially the perfected primordial mantra, it could perfectly conceal his aura and cultivation. Even the 3 Pure Ones and Wu Taiji would find it difficult to see through his disguise. It might be an illusion. Zhuowen comforted himself and began to line up at the back of the line, planning to enter the Nightmare Abyss. The way to enter the Nightmare Abyss was very simple. That was to look into the 7-colored eyes of the female stone statue and persist for 3 seconds before being teleported into the Nightmare Abyss. 3 seconds was very short, but many cultivators couldn't hold on. Often, after 1 second, these cultivators would bleed from their orifices. Zhuowen was surprised. From the discussions of the surrounding cultivators, Zhuowen knew that the female stone statue's eyes had a mysterious power that restrained the soul. If the soul wasn't strong enough, it would easily collapse. In light cases, one would bleed from their orifices and faint. In heavy cases, one would directly die. As the cultivators at the entrance continued to enter the nightmare abyss, the line soon reached Juon. However, his heart was beating very fast, and the ominous feeling was getting stronger. Finally, when it was his turn to arrive at the entrance of the stone statue, the space around him suddenly exploded. A terrifying energy shot out from the depths of the starry sky beside the stone statue and struck Juon's chest like an arrow that had been released from a bow. Bam! Juon reacted very quickly. He kicked off with his right foot and avoided being struck in a vital area. However, he was still affected by the burst of energy and was struck in the shoulder. Juon groaned in pain and hurtled back in retreat. He was almost out of the range of the nightmare abyss. The cultivators behind Juon didn't even have time to react before they were all blasted into smithereens by the burst of energy. Meanwhile, the cultivators further away were able to evade in time and only suffered light injuries. They managed to escape from the range of the burst of energy in time and luckily escaped with their lives. What's going on? A half-step heaven-crushing stage cultivator suddenly attacked? What a terrifying burst of energy. Only a half-step heaven-crushing stage cultivator would be able to unleash such power. Many cultivators had already retreated far away. They were all drenched in cold sweat as they looked at the terrifying scene around the stone statue and started to discuss spiritedly. Juon steadied himself. He was standing on a meteor in space. A large wound had been blasted open on his shoulder blade, and blood was dripping from it. At this moment, he was looking at the space in front of him with a dark expression. There, a figure slowly stepped out from the depths of space and landed beside the stone statue. This figure was very tall, at least 3 feet tall. His skin was unbelievably pale, and he was bald. Juon immediately recognized that this figure was a sorcerer tribe cultivator. Moreover, this sorcerer tribe cultivator's aura was extremely powerful. It was much more powerful than Wu Jian House. This was definitely a third blight cultivator. Heavens, that's the Grand Elder of the Sorcerer Tower, Wu Heori. He's a genuine third blight cultivator. Why is he here? The moment the crowd saw the bald man, it immediately caused an earth-shattering uproar. Bang, bang, bang. The moment this bald man appeared, 6 huge black vortexes appeared in the space around the stone statue. Then, 6 figures with auras no weaker than this bald man appeared. Corpse ghost races Shi Jin, time and space beast races Pu Feihong, dragon races Brother Hao, black tiger races Hu Guanyu, phoenix people's Feng Lu Tian, merman races Long Xing Heavens. They're all third blight cultivators. They're all famous and terrifying existences on the desolate street. Why are there so many third blight cultivators here? Could it be that they're all here to kill the youth? Who is he? The spectators all came to their senses and looked at Juon. Everyone couldn't help but guess Juon's identity. Chapter 3481. Who do you think you are? Guys, we have never met before, but you suddenly attacked me and wanted to kill me. What do you mean? Juon's eyes were gloomy, and his face was pale. Wu Heori sneered and stared at Juon. What do I mean? Don't you know? You have killed so many people in my sorcerer tribe. Today, I am here to avenge them. I don't understand what you mean. Juon was slightly shocked. He knew that Wu Heori probably already knew that he was Juon. However, he was puzzled as to how they had found him. He had hidden himself very well and had almost changed his appearance. However, Wu Heori and the others had a tacit understanding. It was as if they had been lying in ambush here for a long time, as if they had completely grasped his every move. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. You just need to know that you're going to die today. Corpse Jean of the Ghoul clan, whose body was like a mummy, had golden hair. At this moment, he was speaking in a sinister voice. His cold eyes were staring at Juon with disdain. After Corpse Jean finished speaking, he said to Wu Heori and the other 6 people, Guys, you don't have to do anything to deal with this nonentity. Watch how I kill him. Hearing Corpse Jin's words, Wu Heiori and the others all nodded and looked at Zhuowen mockingly. Obviously, they didn't take Zhuowen seriously at all. They felt that any one of them was enough to kill Zhuowen thousands of times. There was no need for them to join forces to kill Zhuowen. Zhuowen, you are very bold. When you were in the untainted heavenly realm, you killed many people of my ghoul clan. Now that you are in the heaven accessing place, you are still so arrogant. You are really overestimating yourself. Corpse Gene attacked. The terrifying momentum of the third blight surged out like a wave. The surrounding starry sky began to distort and collapse under this influence. Corpse Gene punched out. Wherever it passed, the starry sky exploded. Countless energy dissipated and splashed out like a broken water ball. Zhuowen's eyes were cold and a little dignified. This Corpse Gene was very strong. Even among the third blight experts, he was very strong. He was much stronger than Wu Jianhao. If he used the Soul Sword Essence, he could kill Corpse Gene instantly. However, the conditions for using the Soul Sword Essence were too harsh. Since he had just used it, he had not been able to condense a new one Soul Sword Essence. Fortunately, after his avatar absorbed the soul and Corpse Goo Worms, it had absorbed Tian Wu and Shi Bai. Corpse Gene 2 R. Zhuowen. Boom. Zhuowen punched out as well. His fist aura was monstrous, and it emitted a sparkling and translucent light as if it was carved from jade. Everywhere his fist aura passed, space would continuously collapse. It was truly too terrifying. In just an instant, the two fists collided. Then, a black crack that was several feet wide appeared in the chaotic starry sky, like a black crescent moon. Bang! 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 In an instant, Zhuowen and Corpse Gene collided. The eruption of energy was too terrifying. The starry sky exploded, and the energy ripples spread out in all directions like a wave. Many cultivators were shocked when they saw the terrifying energy ripples. They felt that it was unbelievable. They knew how powerful Corpse Gene was. After all, he was a veteran third blight expert. But Zhuowen was too powerful. It made them feel incredulous. The battle between Zhuowen and Corpse Gene was too terrifying. Judging from the current situation, Corpse Gene was at a disadvantage. Corpse Gene's face was ugly. He was really shocked. He stared at the young man who was throwing out terrifying punches. He really did not expect that Zhuowen's strength could be so strong. Zhuowen was even stronger than him. He was only at a disadvantage. How can this Zhuowen's strength be so excessive? He didn't even use the so-called soul attack. The eyes of Wu Heiori and the others who were watching from the side flashed. They were full of surprise and doubt. They felt that it was strange. From the information they received, they knew that Zhuowen's soul attack was terrifying, but his physical strength could only be regarded as average. He was not at all comparable to a third blight expert. But now, the strength that Zhuowen displayed was too terrifying. He was not inferior to a third blight cultivator at all. Even a strong cultivator like Corpse Gene was suppressed. Die! Corpse Gene felt ashamed. He suddenly exhaled, and in his lungs there was a green-gold gas. The green-gold gas floated out quickly. Like a giant dragon, it cut through the starry sky and rushed toward Zhuowen. That's the poisonous gold gas. That's Corpse Gene's strongest trump card. Back then, he relied on that poisonous chi to directly cut off the head of an expert of the same level. It's terrifying. It's simply unstoppable, said Wu Heiori fearfully. Whoosh! Whoosh! The green gold gas was very fast. In an instant, it swept in front of Zhuowen with a terrifying power. Zhuowen punched out and landed on the green gold gas. Suddenly, he felt as if his right fist had fallen into a swamp. The speed of his punch suddenly became much slower. Moreover, Zhuowen found that there were terrifying poisonous bubbles erupting from the green gold gas. These poisonous bubbles began to evaporate and rise. Eventually, they burst, and a terrifying poisonous gas escaped and drilled into Zhuowen's right arm. In just an instant, Zhuowen's right arm showed signs of ulceration. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He activated the Pangu, sacred body, and his whole body erupted with bright crystal light. The ulceration on his arm was immediately stopped by him. However, the green gold gas was increasing. It spread out in an instant and enveloped Zhuowen's entire body. Zhuowen immediately used the mysterious light of creation. His body was covered by a layer of light, which completely resisted the spreading green gold gas. Boom! At the same time, Zhuowen made a gesture with his right hand and used the sky-splitting blade. Terrifying air blades blasted out toward Shijin. Shijin's face changed slightly. He hurriedly defended himself. Unfortunately, the sky-splitting blade was too sharp, and there were too many of them. His right hand was hit by a mist sky-splitting blade. It exploded into a cloud of blood mist and completely dissipated. Shijin screamed, and his face turned pale. He hurriedly retreated. Zhuowen would not give Shijin a chance. He directly chased after Shijin and suppressed him. Shijin was injured. At this moment, his strength was suppressed too much. He could barely resist Zhuowen's attacks. The injuries on his body were getting more and more serious. Damn it, you ant! Shijin was furious. Shijin was shocked and angry at the same time. He was really aggrieved. He was actually suppressed by Zhuowen like this, and he had no power to fight back. You keep saying that I'm an ant, but now you've been beaten by me to the point that you're worse than a dog. Who do you think you are? Zhuowen sneered again and again, but his attacks became more and more ruthless. He wanted to completely cripple Corpse Gold. Do it! Wu Heiori saw that Shijin was being suppressed by Zhuowen and even showed signs of dying. He could not wait any longer. He rushed out like a sun and rushed toward Zhuowen. On the other hand, Pu Feihong of the Space-Time Beast Clan, Brother Hao of the Dragon Clan, Hu Guanyu of the Black Tiger Clan, Feng Lutian of the Phoenix Clan, and Longxing of the Merfolk Clan looked at each other, and then they very tacitly split into 5 directions, surrounding Zhuowen and charging towards him. Zhuowen, you're dead. Chapter 3482. Kill you? In Shijin's opinion, Zhuowen would definitely die if Wu Heiori and the other 5 joined the fray, and he would be saved. Right now, he was both fearful and afraid of Zhuowen. Zhuowen's strength was beyond his imagination. It was too terrifying. He was really afraid that if this continued, he would really fall in Zhuowen's hands. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. He just glanced at Wu Heiori and the others were rushing over. Shijin, do you really think I can't kill you? Before they get here, I'll kill you. Zhuowen coldly laughed as a terrifying light exploded out from his body. Soon after, the light formed an enormous figure that seemed to connect the heavens and the earth in the air behind Zhuowen. This figure was simply too tall. It was simply too dazzling in the chaotic starry sky. Panga's power suppress. Zhuowen put his palms together and chanted. His right hand suddenly hit Jin's body. Rumble. Panga's shadow moved in the same way as Zhuowen. Its huge palm hit Jin. Jin's pupils shrank. He felt the shadow of death from Panga's shadow. He knew that if his palm landed on his body, he might really die. Jin started to burn his essence blood. He screamed and wanted to escape. Unfortunately, no matter how fast he was not as fast as Panga's shadow. Rumble. Panga's shadow finally hit Jin, and a terrifying and dazzling light burst out. Then, Jin screamed and his body was destroyed. However, as Jin's body was destroyed, it reformed. His broken body was constantly repairing itself, and he quickly escaped from Panga's shadow. Zhuowen's eyes were full of mockery. He hit Jin again and destroyed his body. It had to be said that a third Blight powerhouse was really difficult to kill. Their divine souls were much stronger than ordinary cultivators. As long as their divine souls were not destroyed, their body could quickly repair itself. Jin's body was destroyed and reborn again and again. When Jin's body was destroyed for the 7th time, Wu Heiori and the others arrived. Brother Wu, save me. My divine soul is about to be destroyed. Jin's eyes lit up with hope when he saw Wu Heiori rushing over. His half-recovered body hurriedly moved towards Wu Heiori. Wu Heiori nodded and went straight to Jin, intending to save him. But soon, Wu Heiori's expression changed. Panga's silhouette abruptly kicked Wu Haori's body. Wu Haori formed a fist with both hands and punched out. It exploded with a bright light, like a blazing sun, and its power was terrifying. Bang! Wu Haori's strength was extraordinary. The fist print that he blasted out actually caused the right foot of the Panga Shadow to completely stop. He let out a muffled groan and involuntarily retreated. Corpse Gold, you should just die. No one can save you. Zhuan's voice was like the might of the heavens. He unleashed another palm strike, and the Corpse Gold screamed as it was destroyed once again. This time, after Shi Jin's body was destroyed, it was no longer repaired. His divine soul had been annihilated and he had completely died. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of air. They only felt that it was unbelievable. Corpse Gold had died just like that. This was a third blight powerhouse. Did Zhuan have to be so powerful? How dare you kill Shi Jin? Wu Haori and the other 5 people stopped not far from where Shi Jin died. Their eyes bulged as they stared at Zhuan. They were also deeply shocked. They really didn't expect Shi Jin to kill Zhuan just like that. This was too unexpected. Haha, don't worry. I'm not only going to kill Shi Jin, but I'm also going to kill all of you. Zhuan sneered as he looked at Wu Haori and the others. His eyes were full of mockery and murderous intent. You're really arrogant. How dare you threaten to kill all of us? You're simply courting death. Wu Haori was furious. He took a step forward, and his body erupted with a terrifying golden light. He was like a sun that rose to the highest point in the sky, emitting a light that was difficult to look at. Pu Feihong from the Space-Time Beast Clan, Brother Hao from the Dragon Clan, Hu Guanyu from the Black Tiger Clan, Feng Lutian from the Phoenix People, and Long Xing from the Mermaid Clan followed closely behind. They all erupted with a terrifying aura. A total of 6 Third Blight powerhouses attacked at the same time. The aura that they condensed was too terrifying. It was as if they could crush everything around them. The surrounding space seemed to be collapsing. Arrogant? I'm a man of my word. Zhuan sneered. With a wave of his sleeve, his original body that had been sitting in the great world flew out and merged with his avatar. Suddenly, Zhuan's entire body emitted a blazing purple light. He began to operate the primordial chant. His entire body exuded a purple aura like a carefully carved purple jade. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, Wu Haori's group of 6 had already arrived in front of the Panga Shadow. They all erupted with their strongest attacks and bombarded the Panga Shadow. Thunderous booms could be heard without an end. The joint attack launched by the 6 of them was way too terrifying. A sky-shattering, earth-shattering power erupted from Pangu's silhouette. The Panga Shadow was constantly resisting, but it couldn't withstand this terrifying attack. After all, this was the joint attack of 6 Third Blight powerhouses. This attack was enough to instantly kill a Third Blight powerhouse like Shi Jin. Pucci, Pangu's silhouette was torn apart, and a large hole appeared in the chaotic starry sky where Pangu's silhouette was. It looked like a large black crack on a piece of cloth. This kid is dead for sure. Wu Haori and the others stopped not far away. When they saw the Panga Shadow being torn apart, they didn't continue to attack. In their opinion, under their joint attack, Zhuan would be seriously injured at best, and at worst, he would directly die. Pangu's silhouette was collapsing, and Zhuan's silhouette was blurry in the collapsing Pangu silhouette, seeming a bit hazy. I'll go in and take a look. Merman Long Xing's eyes flickered. Without waiting for Wu Haori and the others to agree, he rushed into the collapsing Panga Shadow. Wu Haori and the others frowned. Long Xing was so anxious. Clearly, it was because of Zhuan's spirit ring. This kid's cultivation wasn't high, but he was so strong. He must have a big secret. Thinking of this, Wu Haori and the others quickly followed. They didn't want to fall behind. Long Xing's speed was very fast. He took the lead and rushed to the place where the Panga Shadow was collapsing. At this moment, the Panga Shadow had completely collapsed. Long Xing was the first to arrive. He immediately discovered the figure that was sitting cross-legged under the collapsing Panga Shadow, emitting purple light. This guy actually didn't die. Long Xing was stunned. He stared at the figure below, the Panga shadow, in disbelief. Chapter 3483. Terrifying strength, damn it. Longxing's expression changed when he saw the approaching fist. He cursed under his breath and formed a seal with both hands. Behind him, a boundless wave of water appeared. The waves were too turbulent. With a terrifying aura, they rushed over and drowned Zhuowen in an instant. However, the wave didn't last for long. A purple light instantly dyed the wave a mysterious purple. The purple light became more and more intense. In the end, the wave was blasted away by the terrifying energy, revealing a terrifying phantom of a fist. Longxing's pupils shrank. He didn't expect his attack to be broken so easily. However, Longxing didn't panic. He blasted out another palm strike. At the same time, he retreated and planned to join Wu Heiori and the others to kill Zhuowen together. Puff! But soon, Longxing realized in despair that when his palm strike touched Zhuowen's fist, which was spewing out purple light, it collapsed like a chicken and exploded into a cloud of blood mist. What kind of power is this? Longxing let out a blood-curdling scream. After his palm force was broken and his right palm exploded into a bloody mist, he sensed a very mysterious and powerful force coming from Zhuowen's fist force, following his arm and entering his body. Moreover, this power was very violent. It stirred up the wind and clouds in his body and wreaked havoc. What shocked him even more was that the Heaven's Way energy in his body couldn't contain this power. Instead, it was dispersed by this mysterious power. Bang! 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 Longxing's acupuncture points were bursting with blood mist. He kept retreating. When he took the last step, his body collapsed. What's wrong with this guy? How did he suddenly become so powerful? Wu Heiori had just arrived when he saw Longxing's miserable state. Everyone was shocked. Although Zhuowen was powerful, he had been entangled with Shijin for a long time. In the end, he used Pangu's sacred aura to kill Shijin. But now, Zhuowen didn't use Pangu's sacred aura. Instead, he used a simple punch to break Longxing's body. The contrast between before and after was too great. Be careful. This person has a very strange power. Once you come into contact with it, your meridians and flesh will immediately collapse. Even if you use all your Heaven's Way energy, it's difficult to stop this power from invading. Not far away, Longxing's body was gradually recovering. His face was very pale and bloodless. At this moment, he was glaring fiercely at Zhuowen. In addition to hatred, there was also a trace of fear. Zhuowen glanced at Longxing. He already knew that third blight cultivators weren't so easy to kill. He had to kill them a few more times before he could completely destroy the third blight cultivator's body and soul. This was the advantage of third blight cultivators. Their bodies and souls were connected, and they complemented each other. This kid is a bit strange. His aura isn't strong. His cultivation must be lower than ours, but I can't sense his specific cultivation. Wu Heiori said with a solemn look. The combat power Zhuowen displayed just now made him start to take him seriously. He knew that Zhuowen's strength was probably above the information they received. Let's attack together. This kid must have a big secret. If we fight him alone, I'm afraid it won't be easy to take him down. Pu Feihong of the space-time beast race said coldly. The space-time around him was distorted and emitted powerful space-time power. He was more and more certain that Zhuowen had a great treasure on him. His eyes were full of greed. He couldn't wait to take down Zhuowen. Wu Heiori and the others had the same thought. Now, they were looking at Zhuowen as if they were looking at a huge treasure. They knew how strong Zhuowen was, but they were also confident in themselves. The 6 of them combined were enough to take down Zhuowen. Brother Pu is right. Let's attack together. Let's take him down quickly and stop dilly-dallying. Wu Heiori was the first to agree. The other 4 experts also agreed. They didn't want to delay and hoped to take down Zhuowen as soon as possible. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, Wu Heiori and the others no longer hesitated. They rushed toward Zhuowen and completely surrounded Zhuowen. Longxing, who had his body destroyed by Zhuan's punch, didn't want to be outdone. He quickly adjusted his state and followed closely behind. However, Longxing didn't dare to take the lead anymore. He had suffered a great loss just now, so he was much more cautious now. Wu Heiori was like a sun. His body was emitting a dazzling golden light. When he punched out, it was as if countless stars had exploded. Boom! Wu Heiori attacked with his full strength. The golden light exploded and the surrounding space exploded. The momentum was terrifying. Zhuan didn't fight Wu Heiori head-on. Instead, he used the primordial chant. Purple light flickered around his body, and he dodged Wu Heiori's attack like a bolt of purple lightning. The primordial chant was a comprehensive cultivation technique. Not only was it a cultivation technique, but it also included attack, defense, movement, and many other comprehensive cultivation techniques. As for the primordial grand mist technique that he had created himself, it naturally continued the characteristics of the primordial grand mist technique. It was a top-notch cultivation technique that was comprehensive and comprehensive. Moreover, it was a peerless cultivation technique that transcended this universe. The space-time beast races Pu Feihong, the dragon races Long Haoge, the black tiger races Hu Guanyu, and the phoenix people's Feng Lutian also attacked. Their attacks were extremely terrifying. However, Zhuan dodged all these attacks. His charge didn't slow down. His target was the cowering Longxing, who was at the back. F***CK. Longxing saw that Zhuan didn't fight Wu Heiori and the others head-on. Instead, he went straight for him. He couldn't help but curse inwardly. He wanted to retreat without thinking. He was really scared by Zhuan. Longxing retreated quickly, but Zhuan was even faster. He was as fast as lightning, and in an instant, he appeared in front of Longxing. You can't escape. Today I, Zhuan, want to kill. Sure, Jin will be the first, and you'll be the second. Don't be too hasty, one at a time, Zhuan said as he punched out. Purple light filled the sky. Longxing's face was gloomy. Zhuan's speed was so fast that it shocked him. He could actually break through the encirclement of Wu Heiori and the others in an instant and rush out to kill him. Longxing was helpless. He knew that he had to stop Zhuan now. Pucci. Unfortunately, Longxing's defense was like a chicken or a dog in Zhuan's eyes. It couldn't withstand a single blow. He punched Longxing again and smashed him into pieces. Blood mist spurted out. After Longxing was smashed into pieces, the blood mist escaped in an instant and reformed his body hundreds of billions of miles away. However, Zhuan's speed was too fast. Not long after he escaped, Zhuan had already closed in and punched him again. Chapter 3484. The situation is over, damn it. How can this guy be so fast? Wu Heiori and the other four chased after Zhuan, but they could not catch up no matter how hard they tried. They could only watch as Longxing was beaten up again and again until he finally died. Zhuan slowly turned around, and his gaze fell on the Phoenix people, Feng Lutian. His gaze was so sharp that Feng Lutian did not dare to look straight at it. At the same time, he felt his hair stand on end. With Shijin and Longxing as examples, Feng Lutian was a little afraid of Zhuan. He was afraid that Zhuan would target him and kill him too. He knew very well that with Zhuan's speed, the five of them working together would be useless. This was because they could not effectively form an encirclement to contain Zhuan. Phoenix people, Feng Lutian, it's your turn now. After Zhuan said that, he pounced on Feng Lutian. He was so fast that one could only see a purple shadow flashing by in the starry sky. It was impossible to see his figure clearly. Feng Lutian's hair stood on end. Without thinking, he began to retreat. Everyone moved closer to Feng Lutian. Wu Heiori's expression was ugly. The moment Zhuan swept out, he shouted and took the lead to charge at Feng Lutian. However, before they could get close to Feng Lutian, they saw a purple shadow flash past Feng Lutian's side. Then, Feng Lutian screamed and collapsed into a cloud of blood mist. By the time they were completely close to Feng Lutian, he had already been blown up 3 times. At that moment, he was struggling to reform his body. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. Let's surround Feng Lutian. We must find a chance to capture Zhuowen. Otherwise, we'll all be in danger today. Wu Heiori's eyes were solemn. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead as he shouted. Wu Heiori did not expect that the encirclement, which he thought was a sure win, would end up in such a situation. They were actually in such a passive position. Suddenly, Long Haoge, who was guarding Feng Liotian's left, let out a blood-curdling shriek. Blood sprayed out from his body as he was smashed into smithereens by a purple fist. Next was Wu Guanyu of the Black Tiger race and Pu Feihong of the Space-Time Beast race. Wu Heiori's divine sense was the sharpest, and his strength was also the strongest among them. However, the moment Zhuowen's purple shadow appeared in front of him, a terrifying golden light erupted from his body and dispersed, forming a terrifying golden rain. This golden rain was very powerful and was enough to seriously injure a third blight cultivator. In this golden rain, Zhuowen's figure could not help but stagnate for a moment, and Wu Heiori immediately found flaw. "I found you. Die." Wu Heiori's eyes turned crimson. He immediately took out a golden ring and smashed it at Zhuowen. The ring shone with golden light. It was quite extraordinary, and the divine splendor it emitted illuminated the heavens. It was clear that it was a terrifying half-step, heaven-breaking, gray divine artifact. The third level of the Yama demon diagram, Parade of 100 Ghosts, open. Zhuowen was very calm. He immediately took out the Yama demon diagram and opened the last level. This was the ultimate move of the Yama demon diagram, and it could only be used once in a lifetime. Once the third level was completely opened, the Yama demon diagram would unleash the power of a half-step, heaven-breaking, gray divine artifact. It would form a domain of 100 ghosts and completely suppress the opponent. In the third level of the Yama demon diagram, there were countless evil ghosts. They instantly rushed out of the diagram and let out ferocious and evil howls. They blocked the golden ring and formed a pitch-black domain that enveloped Wu Heiori and the others. In this domain, Wu Heiori and the others' vision and divine sense were completely interfered with by the ghosts. However, Zhuowen's divine sense was not affected at all. Zhuowen immediately locked onto Feng Lutian, who had just condensed his body, and gave him a punch without hesitation. Poor Feng Lutian, who had just condensed his body, was once again destroyed. He let out a mournful cry. Wu Heiori and the others' divine senses were interfered with. Although they could hear Feng Liotian's mournful cry, they could not tell the specific direction. "Let's work together and completely shatter this domain." Wu Heiori shouted loudly. He took out the golden ring and continuously bombarded the domain of the Yama demon diagram. Although countless evil ghosts were annihilated like leaves being swept away by the autumn wind, there were too many evil ghosts in the Yama demon diagram. They seemed to be endless, and it was impossible to completely destroy them in a short period of time. In the domain, Feng Liotian's tragic cries that sounded like a pig being slaughtered could be heard from time to time. Feng Lutian was indeed very miserable. He had just condensed his body, but he was immediately destroyed by Zhuowen. This repeated until he let out a final mournful cry and shouted, "God damn Zhuowen, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Then there was no more sound. He had completely fallen. Crack! The moment Feng Lutian was completely destroyed, the domain of the Yama demon diagram was finally completely shattered. Wu Heiori, Long Haoge, and Wu Guanyu finally rushed out of the shattered domain of the Yama demon diagram. Feng Lutian. After the domain of the Yama demon diagram was shattered, their divine instincts immediately became clear. They immediately realized that Feng Liotian's aura had disappeared. They knew that Feng Lutian had probably been destroyed and had completely fallen. Sigh, my most precious divine weapon was destroyed by you guys. Shouldn't you guys compensate me? At that moment, Zhuowen's lazy voice sounded. It immediately caused Wu Heiori and the other two's hair to stand on end. They could not help but retreat by a large distance. They looked at Zhuowen, who came out with the broken Yama demon diagram, in fear. Zhuowen looked at the broken Yama demon diagram and sighed in his heart. The Yama demon diagram was very powerful. Although it was only a peak ascending heaven-level divine weapon, it could unleash the power of a half-step heaven-piercing divine weapon. The power of the Yama demon diagram did not disappoint him. However, it could only be used once. After that, the divine weapon would be completely destroyed and could not be used again. Brother Zhua, this has nothing to do with the Black Tiger tribe. It was the sorcerer tribe who gathered us to surround and annihilate you. I'll take my leave first. Hu Guanyu cupped his fists at Zhuowen from afar and ran away without saying a word. He ran very quickly and did not hesitate at all. Our dragon tribe is also a victim. We were bewitched by the sorcerer tribe. I hope that Brother Zhua can see through everything. Long Haoge only said this sentence. Without even saying goodbye, he fled in another direction. You guys, Wu Heori was flustered and exasperated. He was just about to berate Long Haoge and Hu Guanyu. Unfortunately, the two had already run away. How could they hear Wu Heori's curses? Zhuowen did not chase after Long Haoge and Hu Guanyu. He would settle the grudges between the two in the future. Right now, he was not in a hurry. Wu Taiji, this old fogey, his methods are not small. He actually found out my whereabouts in advance and ambushed me here. Tell me, what method did that old fogey use? Zhuowen rubbed his right hand and looked at Wu Heori indifferently. His powerful aura had already locked onto Wu Heori. Cold sweat had already appeared on Wu Heori's forehead. He was very clear that his speed could not compare to Zhuowen's. Running away now was useless and would only make him more passive. Zhuowen, you are indeed strong, but compared to my Wu Lu, you are still an ant. If you let me go, I will plead for you to the Tower Lord. Wu Heori calmed down and planned to raise conditions with Zhuowen. You want to raise conditions with me? You don't have the qualifications now. Zhuowen sneered, took a step forward, and rushed towards Wu Heori. Chapter 34, 85. Leave. Purple divine light erupted from Wu Heori's body as Zhuowen drew closer and closer. Wu Heori's pupils contracted involuntarily as he gripped the golden bracelet in his hand tightly and hurled it through the air. In the instant that he hurled the golden bracelet, he immediately retreated at an extremely fast speed. He was actually planning to flee. Zhuowen's expression was calm as he looked at the golden bracelet that was drawing closer and closer. Purple energy soared into the sky as he abruptly launched a fist. After fusing with his clone, his strength had increased exponentially, and he even dared to take on a half-step heaven-crushing divine tool head-on. Boom! In the instant that the purple fist crashed into the golden bracelet, purple and golden light intertwined and exploded into a scorching purplish golden light. Then, the purplish golden light became more and more intense. In the end, the golden bracelet was knocked flying, and the light on the surface of the golden bracelet gradually dimmed. In the distance, Wu Heori's pupils contracted when he saw that the golden bracelet was knocked flying by a single fist. He finally understood just how terrifying Zhuowen was. He let loose a shrill cry, and he didn't hesitate any longer as he summoned his flying divine tool and began to flee frantically. You won't get away. Zhuowen's expression was cold as he stepped forward. Terrifying ripples appeared in the space around him, and Zhuowen disappeared on the spot as if he had evaporated into thin air. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Zhuowen appeared above the fleeing Wu Heori, and his fist came crashing down. The terrifying fist was like a small, scorching sun, and it erupted with extremely dazzling light. Wu Heori cursed in his heart as a terrifying golden light erupted from his body. His body instantly grew by several hundred feet, and he was like an immovable deity Buddha statue. Splat! However, when Wu Heori raised his fist to meet the descending fist, he felt a burst of extremely fierce and domineering mysterious power pour down from above. The mysterious power drilled into his hands, and it actually caused his hands to explode. Moreover, this mysterious power was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. It traveled along the meridians in his arms and spread throughout his entire body, and it actually began to incessantly destroy the structures and meridians in the depths of his body. What power is this? Wu Heori was directly sent flying, his entire body exploding into a bloody mist. The power of the godly Shatterer force flew through his body at an extremely fast speed, constantly shattering his life force and meridians. By the time Wu Heori managed to stabilize his body, his entire body was extremely weak. Blood mist continued to erupt from his body. Bastard Zhuowen, I really underestimated your strength. But so what if you're strong? You're just a loner. You'll die a horrible death sooner or later if you offend the Wu Tower. Wu Heori roared. He began to burn his essence blood, intending to go all out. Unfortunately, as soon as he said this, as soon as his blood essence started to burn, a foot suddenly stomped on his face, ruthlessly stomping on him. Zhuowen stepped on Wu Heori. His eyes were cold and cruel as he said indifferently, "If you care so much about me, why don't you care about your own life and death? The Wizard Tower has provoked me time and time again. I, Zhuowen, will naturally not let the Wizard Tower go. Sooner or later, I will destroy the entire Wizard Tower by myself." Zhuowen's voice was cold as he stepped on Wu Heori. Then he exerted force with his right foot and Shatter Divine Power surged into Wu Heori's head. His head exploded, followed by his body. Wu Heori's strength was indeed extraordinary. After his body exploded, blood mist instantly swept out. He reformed his body and burned his essence blood again. However, this time, he was no longer going all out by burning his essence blood. Instead, he was fleeing in a sorry state. However, even though Wu Heori was burning his essence blood, his speed was far from Zhuowen's. Soon, Zhuowen caught up with him. Then, Zhuowen threw out punch after punch, directly smashing Wu Heori's body into pieces. Wu Heori saw that he couldn't escape. After reforming his body, he started a fight with his life on the line. However, Wu Heori was in an even worse state. Under Zhuowen's punches, he couldn't withstand more than a few moves before collapsing. Finally, Wu Heori was beaten to the point where he couldn't reform his body anymore. His spiritual soul had already collapsed. Zhuowen casually threw Wu Heori's incomplete body to the side. His eyes were like torches as he looked at the stunned onlookers. When everyone met Zhuowen's gaze, they all lowered their heads. They didn't dare to look at Zhuowen. What happened just now was simply too shocking. 7 Third Blight powerhouses joined forces to encircle and annihilate him. Not only did they not succeed, but 5 of them were also killed by Zhuowen. 2 of them even escaped. No one had expected such an outcome from the start. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He glanced at the nightmare abyss in front of him. His eyes flickered, but in the end, he didn't enter the nightmare abyss. He was very clear about his current strength. The mid-stage Panga's sacred body was comparable to a peak Third Blight powerhouse. When his original body and avatar merged into one, his strength could barely defeat a peak Third Blight powerhouse. Coupled with the broken divine power, Zhuowen could easily kill Wu Heori and the other Third Blight powerhouses. This was because among the 7 cultivators who surrounded Zhuowen, only Wu Heori was the strongest. However, he was only at the late stage of the Third Blight. The rest were either at the early stage or mid-stage of the Third Blight. If there was a 4th Blight powerhouse in this encirclement, Zhuowen knew that he wouldn't be a match for them. He could only retreat. Moreover, he knew that if this matter was spread to the Tower of Witches, the Tower Master of the Tower of Witches would probably take action. Unless his avatar's Panga's sacred body could be upgraded to perfection, or his original body's cultivation could be further improved, he wouldn't be a match for the Tower Master of the Tower of Witches, even if he obtained the ancestral voodoo goo worms from the Nightmare Abyss. After all, if he wanted to perfect his Panga's sacred body, he had to combine the 12 ancestral voodoo goo worms. The ones in the Nightmare Abyss were the Swizz goo worms. He still lacked the Emperor River goo worm. Let's leave the heaven-accessing secret realm first. Zhuowen finally decided to leave the heaven-accessing secret realm first. He hadn't found the whereabouts of Mu Qinxue and the 6 divine medicines needed to cure Moyan Wushang's 6 desires spirit-condensing pill. He still lacked the divine medicine of Hua Qianyu of the 3 realms. He still needed to go to the elixir array Dao domain to find Hua Qianyu of the 3 realms and get the elixir recipe of the 6 desires spirit-condensing pill. He learned about the 6 desires spirit-condensing pill from the true elixir array record. However, the elixir recipe of the 6 desires spirit-condensing pill recorded in the true elixir array record was incomplete. It only listed the 6 divine medicines needed to refine the 6 desires spirit-condensing pill. As for the specific refining method, it didn't record it. Zhuowen had studied the true elixir array record for so long. He also found that the true elixir array record in his hands was incomplete. He vaguely guessed that the complete true elixir array record must have been left in the elixir array Dao domain. If he could get the complete true elixir array record, he would be able to get the inheritance of the real elixir array immortal master. At that time, his elixir array level would be further improved. It was because of these concerns that Zhuowen didn't want to stay in the heaven-accessing secret realm for too long. After all, he didn't enter the heaven-accessing secret realm willingly. He was forced to do so by Binghui. Chapter 3486. Saintess of the monster realm, he did not plan to stay on Sanqing Street for long, nor did he plan to greet them. He went straight to the entrance of the heaven-accessing place. At this moment, there were 2 experts at the peak of the heaven-reaching realm guarding the entrance of the heaven-accessing place. They were arranged by Wu Taiji. "Stop. Let's see your pass token." When Zhuowen arrived at the entrance, the 2 outsiders immediately stopped Zhuowen, their eyes unfriendly as they demanded the entry token from Zhuowen. "Sorry, I lost it," Zhuowen said flatly. His name was engraved on the pass token, so he could not take it out. Once he took it out, he would be exposed. "Lost it? Then don't even think about getting out." One of the experts snorted. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes, and a purple light shot out from between his eyebrows and blasted into the 2 experts' foreheads. The 2 experts suddenly became muddle-headed, and Zhuowen easily left the entrance. Right now, Zhuowen's soul was simply too powerful. An ordinary soul attack was enough to directly kill these 2 foreign race experts. However, Zhuowen did not have the tendency to kill innocent people, so he just let them be muddle-headed for a while. After a while, the 2 experts woke up. They were shocked and realized that something was wrong. There is something wrong with that human cultivator. We must report to the Tower Master. The 2 experts thought of the seriousness of the matter and quickly took out their communication jade tokens to inform Wu Taiji, the Tower Master of the Wu Tower. Very quickly, an extremely imposing figure appeared in the desolate street. When the 2 foreign race experts saw the figure, their bodies trembled. They hurriedly lowered their heads and said respectfully, "Greetings, Second House Master." This figure was Wu Yangshua, the 2nd Tower Master of the Wu Tower. He was the 2nd strongest expert in the Wu Tower, and his strength was second only to Wu Taiji. At this moment, Wu Yangshua's eyes were full of killing intent. He said coldly, "Is this the human you saw just now?" Then Wu Yangshua waved his sleeve, and the image of Zhuowen, disguised as a rogue cultivator, appeared in the sky. When the 2 outsiders saw this image, their bodies trembled and they hurriedly knelt down to apologize. "2 pieces of trash, you can't even stop me. What use do I have for you?" Wuyang Shua scoffed coldly, and the 2 foreign race experts who were kneeling on the ground screamed and exploded into 2 balls of blood mist. After killing the 2 foreign race experts, Wuyang Shua planned to chase after Zhuowen, but he was stopped by a terrifying force. Wuyang Shua continuously retreated, his eyes coldly looking at the huge black shadow in front of him. This was an incomparably huge black iron lion. At this moment, its lantern-sized eyes were staring deadly at Wu Yangshua. "Black King? What do you mean by that? How dare you block me?" Wu Yangshua's eyes were cold as he said in exasperation, The Black King grinned and said, Wuyang Shua, you shameless old man, do you have any shame? You actually attacked a junior. How shameful. Oof. Zhuowen killed many experts in my Wulu. I'm just paying with blood. Black King, if you get out of my way now, I won't blame you. Otherwise, I'll attack you. Don't blame me for being merciless. Wuyang Shua threatened. The Black King yawned and said indifferently, I'm so scared. Your strength is only on par with mine. You can do whatever you want to me. I'll take it. Wuyang Shua was so angry that his shoulders trembled, but he did not attack. As the Black King said, his strength was indeed on par with the Black King. If they fought, it would be difficult to determine the winner in a short time. The Black King had made up his mind to block him, and he really could not free himself to chase after Zhuowen. Black King, Wuyang Shua, and the Wu Lu will remember what happened today. However, you can't protect Zhuowen for long. Even if Zhuowen leaves the heaven accessing place, so what? Unless he never enters the heaven accessing place. After saying this, the Black King returned to the chaotic street. He knew that with the Black King here, he could not leave the heaven accessing place today. He had to go back to the Wu Lu and discuss this with Wu Taiji. What? The Black King stopped you. Was it the three pure ones who ordered him to do so? In the Wu Lu, Wu Taiji slammed the table when he heard Wuyang Shua's news. His eyes were gloomy. Tower Master, with the three pure ones helping Zhuowen, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to take down Zhuowen. Wuyang Shua frowned and said. Wu Taiji's eyes were gloomy. He took out a blue talisman and said, It seems that we can only ask Lord Bing Hui for help. Recently, he has been sending me messages frequently, asking me to quickly eliminate Zhuowen. Now that the three pure ones have openly disobeyed Lord Bing Hui's orders, he's courting death. I have to report this to Lord Bing Hui. Wuyang Shua's eyes brightened. He knew how terrifying Bing Hui was. He was an almighty from the outer regions. As long as this almighty interfered, the three pure ones would not dare to act recklessly. After all, Bing Hui was a heaven-breaking realm elite. Even if he cut off his cultivation and fell to the fifth blight, his strength was still stronger than the three pure ones and Wu Taiji. It could be said that Bing Hui was an invincible existence in the lower world. No one could go against him. Soon, the blue talisman lit up. Wu Taiji had obviously received a reply. Tower Master, what did Lord Bing Hui say? Wuyang Shua asked curiously. Lord Bing Hui has been in seclusion for a while and has no time to come to the lower world. He told us not to act rashly during this period of time. Once he comes out of seclusion, he'll descend to the starry sky of the lower worlds again. At that time, not only Zhuowen, but even the three pure ones will suffer, Wu Taiji sneered. Wuyang Shua's eyes brightened. He did not expect someone like Bing Hui to come to the lower world again. At that time, the three pure ones and Zhuowen would be finished. After Zhuowen left the heaven-accessing place, he left quickly and spread his divine thought to the limit, guarding against anyone who would chase after him. However, to his surprise, there was no one chasing after him. How the people in the Wu Tower changed? Why didn't they send anyone to chase after me? Zhuowen muttered to himself. He could not figure it out. However, he did not think about it anymore. Instead, he quickly left and flew toward the Xian Mi heavenly territory. At this moment, he only wanted to go to the old site of the heavenly armor star in the 8 heavenly territories. He wanted to find traces of Mu Chenxue there. He learned from Grand Elder Mu Yu's memory that Mu Chenxue had mysteriously disappeared at the old site of the heavenly armor star. Moreover, the old site of the heavenly armor star was near the demon realm. If he did not find traces of Mu Chenxue there, he planned to go directly to the demon realm to find the new saintess of the demon realm. The saintess of the demon realm looked so much like Mu Chenxue that he wondered if they were the same person. Chapter 3487. Terrifying Purple Hanjuan's original body sat on the space-time wheel's deck, breathing heavily as purple light flickered around his body. He had placed his clone in the great world. He knew very well that his original body's potential was limitless after fusing with the primordial stone, far surpassing his clone. As such, he placed most of his energy on the cultivation of his original body. He wanted to raise his original body's cultivation level as soon as possible. The energy level of the lower realm is indeed too low. The energy of the heavenly Tao can't satisfy my cultivation level at all. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes as a bitter smile appeared on his lips. His original body possessed the power of the shattered god in advance. But at the same time, it also meant that the requirements for the energy he absorbed were much more stringent. His original body's cultivation level should be at the early stage of the first blight, but Zhuowen had a feeling that he could break through to the mid-stage of the first blight at any time now. His comprehension ability was simply too terrifying. There were no bottlenecks for him in all the realms below the heaven-crushing stage. There's still some distance to the star battlefield. I'll use the Chaos Crystal to break through during this period of time. Zhuowen muttered to himself as he took out the 1/3 of the Chaos Crystal from the Great World and began to frantically absorb the chaotic energy within the Chaos Crystal. When Zhuowen arrived near the star battlefield, 1/3 of the Chaos Crystal in his hand had been used up, and he had successfully broken through to the mid-stage of the first blight. There's a huge battle in the star battlefield. Zhuowen put away the remaining 1/3 of the Chaos Crystal and quickly sensed the terrifying ripples of battle from afar. He followed the direction of the ripples and quickly approached. Soon, he discovered that the human race's star battlefield was in a mess at this moment. Many human race cultivators were being slaughtered by foreign race cultivators. Cries, screams, and cries converged into one. At the same time, Zhuowen also saw the remaining 2 Pathmasters, LV Yelyong and Mei Xin, in the star battlefield. They were being attacked by 4 foreign race cultivators and were in a sorry state. They were covered in blood, and their faces were pale. The cultivation of these 4 alien race experts was no weaker than LV Yelyong and Mei Xin. They were all mid-stage transcending heaven lords. In addition, there were 2 outsiders who were riding on prehistoric beasts. They hovered above the army, looking down coldly at everything that was happening. Mei Xin and LV Yelyong's eyes revealed grief and indignation. They were unwilling to die just like that. Moreover, the astral battlefield was about to fall. They were very clear that once the star battlefield completely fell, more than half of Xianmi heavenly region would be invaded by foreign race experts, and they would become sinners for all eternity. Damn it! If Brother Tan and Brother Yao hadn't died, our Star Wars battlefield wouldn't have fallen. I can't accept this. Mei Xin roared and began to burn his blood essence. LV Yelyong sighed softly and prepared to burn his essence blood. He knew very well that the Star Wars battlefield had fallen. Moreover, the outsiders had sent 4 mid-stage heaven-piercing lords and 3 late-stage heaven-piercing lords. Coupled with the fact that the alien army outnumbered the human race, all the human race cultivators on the Star Wars battlefield would be finished. There was no chance of survival. They had no choice but to fight with their lives. You want to burn your essence blood? Haha, don't even think about it. The 2 of you should just die. The 3 late-stage heaven-piercing lords standing on the beast sneered when they saw LV Yelyong and Mei Xin and burned their essence blood. One of the alien race experts rushed out and attacked LV Yelyong and Mei Xin, suppressing them. There is a huge gap between mid-stage heaven-piercing lords and late-stage heaven-piercing lords. Although LV Yelyong and Mei Xin and burned their essence blood, they were still no match for this late-stage heaven-piercing lord. LV Yelyong and Mei Xin and both spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew backward. Their bones were broken, and they couldn't move. Destroy them. The late-stage heaven-piercing lord only made one move and then stopped attacking. Instead, he leaped back onto the beast's back and looked down arrogantly at LV Yelyong and Mei Xin, and who were still vomiting blood and flying backward. In his eyes, the 2 were already dead. He looked down on them, his eyes full of disdain and arrogance. The eyes of the four middle heaven-piercing realm foreign race experts shone with a bloodthirsty light when they received the order. Without hesitation, they charged toward LV Yelyong and Mei Zian. Haha, Lord Pseudo is still the best. He subdued these two in one move. We can't let them down this time. We must kill them all. One of the four mid-stage heaven-piercing lords laughed proudly. He was the most proactive of the four and was the first to approach LV Yelyong and Mei Zian. However, the moment he got close to LV Yelyong and Mei Zian, he was slapped into a bloody mist by a giant purple hand before he could even make a sound. The other three foreign race experts who had been following closely behind were all dumbfounded when they saw the strange death of the foreign race expert at the front of the group. However, they were only stunned for a moment before the giant purple hand came whistling over and slapped out again. The three foreign race experts were slapped into a fine powder by the giant purple hand. The three late-stage heaven-piercing lords standing on the beast backs felt their hair stand on end. A chill ran from the soles of their feet to their Tianling acupoints, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. The deaths of the four mid-stage heaven-piercing lords were too strange. They didn't even notice where the giant purple hand came from, and the four mid-stage heaven-piercing lords were slapped into a fine powder. Poochie! Suddenly, the beasts under their feet were blasted into a bloody mist. The beasts let out a blood-curdling scream as their battered bodies fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. The three late-stage heaven-piercing lords scattered in all directions in fear. They spread out their divine senses in an attempt to find the owner of the giant purple hand. Poochie! 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 However, as soon as they released their divine senses, the giant purple hand mysteriously appeared behind them and slammed into them, blasting them into a bloody mist. At this moment, the star battlefield was completely silent. Whether it was the defeated human cultivators or the foreign race cultivators who were slaughtering the human cultivators, they all stopped what they were doing and stared at the scene in disbelief. The three late-stage Empyrean lords had been the ones in charge of the alien army, but now they'd been wiped out in an instant. This sent chills down the spines of the alien army. Bang! 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 While everyone was dumbfounded, the giant purple hand didn't stop. It continued to slam into the foreign race army. Instantly, a terrifying energy spread out in all directions. 1/10 of the outsiders' army was directly annihilated into nothingness. LV Yelyong and Mei Zian, who had just escaped death, didn't even know what was going on. They couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when they saw that 1/10 of the alien army had been destroyed. Chapter 3488. Zhu Wenlin Bang. 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 After annihilating 1/10 of the alien army, the giant purple hand swept across like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Most of the alien army on the battlefield of the stars were blown to smithereens. Run! A horrifying expert has come and is targeting us. If we don't run now, we'll die here. The remaining alien army had already lost their morale and began to flee in all directions. However, these fleeing alien race practitioners were blown to smithereens by a powerful killing formation when they escaped from the battlefield of the stars. When did this killing formation appear? The formation of the battlefield of the stars should have been destroyed by the alien race experts. LV Yelyong and Mei Zian's eyes were full of surprise. They did not expect a killing formation to exist on the battlefield of the stars. Moreover, this killing formation was much more powerful than their original formation of the battlefield of the stars. It was not the original formation of the battlefield of the stars at all. Soon, the two of them thought of the mysterious expert who had attacked them. This killing formation that had suddenly appeared must have been set up by that mysterious expert. The human army realized that this was a rare opportunity, so they all rushed out and started wiping out the defeated non-humankind army. In a short while, the alien army was basically wiped out by the human clan army. Cheers broke out on the battlefield of the stars. The surviving human clan practitioners were full of joy after being reborn. They had thought that they were doomed. They did not expect to be rescued from the jaws of death. Senior, thank you for saving our lives. LV Yelyong and Mei Zian were the most alert. They quickly knelt on the ground and bowed toward the depths of the stars. The surviving human clan practitioners on the battlefield of the stars also reacted. They followed LV Yelyong and Mei Zian and bowed toward the depths of the stars. A purple light slowly descended from the depths of the stars and landed in front of LV Yelyong and Mei Zian. He smiled faintly and said, Sect Master LV, Sect Master Mei, long time no see. LV Yelyong and Mei Zian raised their heads and looked at Zhuowen. Their pupils shrank as if they had seen a ghost. What's wrong? You're surprised to see me, Zhuowen said with a smile. Zhuowen did not disguise himself after he left the heaven-accessing place. Instead, he showed up in his original appearance. Therefore, LV Yelyong and Mei Zi and recognized him at a glance. The two of them were very surprised. They had always thought that Zhuowen had fallen. However, he did not expect to see Zhuowen in person. However, the two of them quickly regained their senses. They lowered their heads and expressed their gratitude to Zhuowen. Thank you for your help this time, Senior Zhuowen. Otherwise, our star battlefield would have been in danger. The two of them were no fools. They already knew that the mysterious expert who had helped them was Zhuowen. They didn't dare to be disrespectful towards such an expert. At the same time, the two of them felt very complicated and indescribable. When Zhuowen first entered the Star Wars battlefield, he was just an ordinary member of the masses. In the end, they had to rely on the Starry Sky Towers of Starry Sky Cannon to amaze everyone. Now, however, Zhuowen had killed 4 heaven-reaching Master Mid-Stage and 3 heaven-reaching Master Late-Stage with a flip of his hand. In just a few moves, he had completely annihilated the foreign race army of 100,000. This kind of method had already surpassed what a peak powerhouse like the Master of Sky Piercing could do. Could it be that this Zhuowen's cultivation had already broken through the peak heaven-reaching master and reached the legendary half-step heaven-crushing realm? Thinking of this, LV Yelyong and Mei Zi and could not hide their shock and complicated feelings. They had never thought that Zhuowen's path of advancement would be so fast. In such a short time, he had already become a top authority in this galaxy. Zhuowen nodded and said, Do you know how to get to the Alchemy Formation Dao Domain? Although the Alchemy Formation Dao Domain was in the Xianmi Heavenly Domain, its location was very mysterious and hidden. Ordinary cultivators did not know the exact location of the Alchemy Formation Dao Domain at all. LV Yelyong and Mei Zi and looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They both shook their heads and expressed their apologies to Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not ask any more questions. After letting LV Yelyong and Mei Zi and activate the teleportation formation to the Eastern Dao Domain, his figure flashed, and his entire figure disappeared from the teleportation formation. After Zhuowen entered the Eastern Dao Domain, he directly took out the half-dead Zhu Wenlin from the Great World. At this moment, Zhu Wenlin was very miserable. His whole body was covered in wounds, and he panted weakly. His eyes were drooping, and he looked very haggard. Zhuowen, why haven't you let me go yet? I am the disciple of the Alchemy Formation Dao Domain's top alchemy formation grandmaster, Buyang Rong. If he knows that you kidnapped me, he won't let you go. When Zhu Wenlin saw Zhuowen, his expression became extremely agitated, and he shouted at the top of his lungs. Hee, you're wrong. Not only did I dare to kidnap you, but I also dare to kill you. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He grabbed Zhu Wenlin's neck and lifted him up. Zhu Wenlin was so frightened that he could not speak for a long time. Let me go, and my master won't find trouble with you. As long as you let me go, I'll promise you anything. Zhu Wenlin trembled as he spoke. Zhuowen's lips curled into a sneer as he said, I can let you go, but you have to do something for me. If you do it well, your life will be safe. Okay, as long as you let me go, I'll do it immediately. Zhu Wenlin quickly nodded. It's very simple. After you return to the Alchemy Formation Dao domain, help me find the remnant volume of the true Alchemy Formation record. Zhuowen said indifferently. How do you know that the remnant volume of the true Alchemy Formation record is in the Alchemy Formation Dao domain? Zhu Wenlin felt incredulous, but he quickly realized that something was wrong and quickly shut his mouth. But Zhuowen's gaze revealed joy. That remnant volume of the true Alchemy Formation record was indeed in the Alchemy Formation Dao domain. He was just casually probing in the first place. This Zhu Wenlin immediately took the bait. This process went so smoothly that it gave him a pleasant surprise. What? Is it very difficult for you? Zhuowen said with a cold gaze. Zhu Wenlin's body trembled, and he hurriedly agreed. He did not dare to joke around with his little life. Zhuowen undid the restraints on Zhu Wenlin's body and said coolly, "You're free now. Scram back to the Alchemy Formation Dao domain. But I planted a fatal poison in your body. Only I can cure this poison. You only have 3 months now. If you can't retrieve that remnant volume of the true Alchemy Formation record within 3 months, then you're dead for sure." Zhu Wenlin was both shocked and furious. He felt that Zhuowen was bullying people too much, but he did not dare to say anything and could only brace himself and agree. He was very clear that his life was currently grasped in Zhuowen's hands. Zhuowen watched Zhu Wenlin gradually disappear. He flicked his sleeves and activated the temporary transmission array that he had prepared long ago, transporting into a great world. Chapter 3489. Yu Ziqi and Zhu Wenlin fled in a panic. Almost immediately after Zhuowen let him go, he rushed towards the west without stopping to rest. Several days later, Zhu Wenlin discovered that Zhuowen did not chase after him. He sighed softly and muttered to himself, "That Zhuowen actually didn't chase after me. He actually let me go so easily." Zhu Wenlin felt that it was somewhat inconceivable, but soon his face became gloomy. He recalled the words Zhuowen said before letting him go. He was somewhat bewildered. Was the poison that Zhuowen put in his body really that terrifying? Was that why Zhuowen let him go so easily? Thinking of this, Zhu Wenlin was somewhat worried. Let's go back and find Master first. Perhaps Master will have a way to cure the poison in my body. Zhu Wenlin continued forward worriedly. About 10 days later, he arrived at the border of the host region. At the border of the host region, there was a desert floating in the starry sky. This desert was very strange, emitting a glass-like light. Zhu Wenlin arrived at the desert and secretly looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, he rushed to a small hill in the desert, took out an array flag, and activated it. Immediately, the array flag rotated, emitting array Dao fluctuations. Then, the small hill began to shatter, and a black hole vortex appeared. Zhu Wenlin jumped into the black hole vortex. Soon, the black hole vortex disappeared, and the small hill returned to the appearance of an ordinary hill. Zhuowen sat on the small island in the center of the lake in the Great World. He spread out his divine sense and observed every movement in the outside world. I really didn't expect this desert to have another world. It hides a passage to the alchemy array Dao domain. Zhuowen had a strange expression. His array Dao level was high enough, but when Zhu Wenlin first entered the desert, he actually did not notice that there was another world in this small hill. Zhu Wenlin traveled through the tunnel for several hours before finally landing on solid ground. Then, Zhu Wenlin appeared in a brand new world. The world in this world was very unique. The ground was pitch black, and the sky was pure white. When you looked at the intersection of heaven and earth in the distance, you would see black and white intertwined, as if yin and yang were alternating. This is the alchemy array Dao domain. Everything in the outside world was under the surveillance of Zhuowen's divine sense. He could not help but exclaim in surprise. He discovered that this huge world was not purely a starry sky or a natural region. This domain should have been created by a powerful being who had used supreme formation techniques to combine countless formations and restrictions to form a domain of its own, forming such a strange domain. I heard that the alchemy array Dao domain was created by the alchemy. That alchemy array immortal monarch is truly an almighty figure. Zhuan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He was also stunned by the extravagance in front of him. He even suspected that even a half-step heaven breaker divine formation master wouldn't be able to set up such a massive formation. Could it be that when the alchemy array celestial lord created the alchemy array Dao domain, his skill in array Dao had already surpassed that of a half-step heaven-breaking cultivator? Thinking of this, Zhuan's expression became very serious. He realized that he had still underestimated the alchemy array celestial lord's strength and extraordinary talent. Perhaps the alchemy array celestial lord was much more powerful than he had imagined. After all, this person had broken through the boundary of the starry sky and left the starry sky of the lower world. Moreover, he now had a preliminary understanding of the lower world and the 100 domains outside the lower world. He knew that even heaven-breaking cultivators would find it difficult to freely travel through the chaotic starry sky. Since the alchemy array celestial lord dared to leave the lower world alone, he probably had the ability to travel through the chaotic starry sky. His skill in array Dao was definitely much more terrifying than he had expected. After entering the alchemy array Dao domain, Zhu Wenlin took out a flying divine tool and flew forward. Soon, he arrived in an incomparably huge city. This city was definitely the largest city Zhuowen had ever seen. It occupied a large area, taking up 1/10 of the entire Dao domain. It was many times more majestic than the divine shaman city he had seen. At the center of the city stood a huge building with an alchemy cauldron, which represented the alchemy Dao. On top of the cauldron, there were 180 huge formation flag statues, which represented the array Dao. This should be the headquarters of the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance, the Alchemy Array Immortal City. Zhuowen could not help but click his tongue in wonder when he saw all this clearly with his divine will. He had to admit that the Alchemy Array Immortal City was indeed very impressive. It was the most magical city he had ever seen. There were many people coming and going in the Alchemy Array Immortal City. Zhuowen discovered that most of them were alchemists or array Dao divine masters wearing long robes. Of course, there were also many cultivators living in the Alchemy Array Immortal City. Moreover, these cultivators were all very powerful. However, these powerful cultivators were very respectful towards the alchemists and array Dao divine masters coming and going. It was obvious that in the Alchemy Array Immortal City, cultivators who did not know alchemy or array Dao had the lowest status. Once Zhu Wenlin entered the Alchemy Array Immortal City, he hurriedly sent a message to Bu Yangrong. Then, he quickly ran towards the Alchemy Array building in the center of the city. "Hey, isn't this Brother Zhu? I heard that you went to the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in the host region and became the Alliance Master there. It's very impressive. Why did you come back today? Moreover, your face is bruised and swollen. You must have been beaten up by someone." When Zhu Wenlin arrived at the entrance of the Alchemy Array building, a young man in white walked out with a folding fan in his hand. He happened to see the travel-worn Zhu Wenlin and revealed a playful smile. Zhu Wenlin stopped in his tracks and looked at the young man in white blocking his way. His face was gloomy as he said, "You Ziqian? I don't have time to chat with you right now. Move aside. I have something to discuss with my master." Zhu Wenlin naturally knew the young man in white in front of him. Yu Ziqian's father was the same as his master Bu Yangrong. They were both elders in the Alchemy Array Immortal City. Because Yu Ziqian's father and his master Bu Yangrong did not have a good relationship, whenever Yu Ziqian and Zhu Wenlin met in the past, they would be at each other's throats and would often have conflicts. If it was in the past, Zhu Wenlin would definitely tear into Yu Ziqian. However, he was not in the mood now. He only wanted to see Bu Yangrong as soon as possible and tell him what happened during this period of time. He also wanted to know if Bu Yangrong could cure the poison in his body. Yu Ziqian chuckled and took a step forward. He stood in front of Zhu Wenlin and said with a faint smile, "Brother Zhu, if you want me to move aside, it's very simple. Just crawl onto my crotch. Then you can enter the Alchemy Array Great Hall." Hearing this, Zhu Wenlin's face changed. He looked at Yu Ziqian angrily and said, "Yu Ziqian, don't go too far. Hee. Then don't even think about going in today. I'll stop you right here." Yu Ziqian shrugged and said mockingly. He could tell that Zhu Wenlin was very anxious to enter the Alchemy Array Great Hall to find someone. He would not let Zhu Wenlin enter the Great Hall. Zhu Wenlin was already out of his wits. He was very afraid of the poison that Zhuowen had planted in his body. Now, he just wanted to find Bu Yangrong as soon as possible. He could not wait any longer. "Yu Ziqian, are you sure you said that? I'll crawl under." Zhu Wenlin gritted his teeth and crawled under Yu Ziqian's crotch. Then, he entered the depths of the Great Hall without looking back. Chapter 3490. Servant, haha, I'm dying of laughter. This guy is really a coward. Yu Ziqian laughed loudly and left the Pill Array main hall in large strides. Many people in the surroundings were also discussing spiritedly as they looked at Zhu Wenlin's back with disdain. Inside the Pill Array main hall, inside Bu Yangrong's cave, Zhu Wenlin knelt in front of Bu Yangrong with tears streaming down his face as he recounted the various miserable things that Zhuowen had done to him. Bu Yangrong's gaze was cold. He suddenly smashed the table beside his armrest with his palm and said in a deep voice, "That Zhuowen is really going too far. He actually dares to ride on the heads of our Pill Array Dao region." Speaking up to here, Bu Yangrong came before Zhu Wenlin and held his wrist with one hand as he began to examine Zhu Wenlin's body. But soon, his gaze revealed a strange look. "Master, how is it? Did you notice what poison I was poisoned with?" Zhu Wenlin looked at Bu Yangrong with hope in his eyes. Bu Yangrong's gaze became more and more strange as he said, "Wenlin, I did not detect any symptoms of being poisoned on your body. Are you sure that Zhuowen poisoned you?" Zhu Wenlin's face was deathly pale as he said while trembling, "Even Master did not notice how terrifying the poison that damned Zhuowen poisoned me with was." Bu Yangrong's gaze turned solemn. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. He said in a deep voice, "You said that Zhuowen directly let you go and only poisoned you. He actually did not follow you into the Pill Array Dao domain?" The location of the Pill Array Dao domain was very mysterious. Generally speaking, Zhuowen should have let Zhu Wenlin bring him to the Pill Array Dao domain. However, Zhuowen did not do so. He only let Zhu Wenlin go, poisoned him, and reminded him to retrieve the remnant volume of the True Alchemy Array record. Not good. That Zhuowen might have done something to your body. Bu Yangrong suddenly realized something and retreated a few steps as he looked at Zhu Wenlin with a bewildered gaze. The moment Bu Yangrong retreated, a large hand suddenly stretched out from behind Zhu Wenlin and rapidly blasted towards Bu Yangrong. Bu Yangrong was already prepared. He threw out array flags one after another. Terrifying array formation fluctuations spread out in all directions like waves. Bang, bang, bang. Unfortunately, the moment these formation flags came into contact with the giant hand, they exploded like paper and were very fragile. Rumble. The hand directly tore apart the defensive array in front of Bu Yangrong and grabbed him by the neck, lifting him up. Zhu Wenlin was scared out of his wits. Before he could even react, Bu Yangrong was right in front of him. A large hand reached out from behind him and grabbed his neck. He had no strength to resist at all. "What's going on?" Zhu Wenlin's legs went soft as he knelt on the ground. His eyes were filled with terror as he muttered to himself. "Of course it's your doing." An indifferent voice sounded. Then, a figure slowly walked out from the void behind Zhu Wenlin. "Zhuowen? You? Why are you here?" Zhu Wenlin sat down on the ground and kept retreating. He looked at Zhuowen with fear in his eyes. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here." Zhuowen sneered. You've been attached to my body all this time?" Zhu Wenlin thought of something and turned pale with fright. Zhuowen shot out an energy rope and tied Zhu Wenlin up. Then, his gaze landed on Bu Yangrong. Yangrong felt his scalp go numb when he felt Zhuan's gaze. His heart was filled with bitterness. The pressure that Zhuan gave him was too terrifying. He knew that Zhuan was at least a grandmaster of the heaven-reaching realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so easily restrained by Zhuan. Zhuan, how dare you barge into the Pill Array Immortal City? Do you really think that there's no one in the Pill Array Immortal City? You have to know that our Pill Array Dao domain has a half-step heaven-breaking powerhouse holding down the fort, Yangrong said angrily. Yangrong was very confident, feeling that Zhuan wouldn't act recklessly, because their Pill Array Dao domain's foundation far surpassed the outside world's 4 great Dao domains. There was a half-step heaven-breaking powerhouse holding down the fort inside the Pill Array Dao domain. He really wasn't afraid of this Zhuan. If this Zhuan dared to act recklessly, he wouldn't be able to walk out of the Pill Array Dao domain at all. Oh, there's actually a half-step heaven-breaking powerhouse inside your Pill Array Dao domain? Zhuan asked in astonishment. Yangrong raised his neck and said rather proudly, "Of course, our Pill Array Dao domain's foundation is very deep, surpassing the Xianmi heavenly region's other 4 great Dao domains and the primitive desolate heavenly region. Apart from the heaven-reaching mystery realm, it's the only region with a half-step heaven-breaking powerhouse. So what? Killing you is merely a matter of flipping my hand. That half-step heaven-breaking powerhouse can't save you," Zhuan said with a cold smile. "Zhuan, don't be rash. What exactly do you want?" Yangrong was helpless and could only use a negotiating tone. "Tell me where the remnant volume of the true alchemy array record is. Also, I need the pill formula of the 6 desires spirit condensing holy pill and a 3 realms flower chinyu. As long as you give these 3 things to me, I'll spare your and your disciples' lives," Zhuan said indifferently. "Zhuan, you might as well rob," Yangrong shrieked. Whether it was the remnant volume of the true alchemy array record, the pill formula of the 6 desires spirit condensing holy pill, or the 3 realms flower chinyu, they were all extremely precious things. Especially the true alchemy array record. It was a true priceless treasure. How could he possibly take it out? "I won't make things difficult for you. Tell me the exact location of the true alchemy array record. Also, the whereabouts of the 6 desires spirit condensing holy pill and the 3 realms flower chinyu. I can also consider letting you live," Zhuan said indifferently. "Don't even think about the true alchemy array record and the 6 desires spirit condensing holy pills pill formula. Those things are in the hands of the immortal city lord. You can't get it all. As for the 3 realms flower chinyu, I can help you get it," Yangrong said solemnly. Zhuan's eyes flickered and said with a nod, "As long as you can help me, the 3 realms flower chinyu, I can spare your life. However, during the time I'm in the alchemy array Dao domain, you have to acknowledge me as your master. Your life and death must be in my hands." "What? Zhuan, you're too much. You actually want me to be your servant?" Yangrong shrieked, his voice very sharp. Bang! Zhuan directly punched Yangrong, directly hitting him until he vomited blood and his face turned pale. "Since you're not willing, then go to hell. Anyway, you're not the only one who knows about the true alchemy array record and the 6 desires spirit condensing holy pill." Zhuan's eyes revealed terrifying killing intent, planning to give Yangrong a fatal blow. "No, I'll acknowledge you as my master. Let me live." Yangrong yielded. He still did not want to die. After Zhuan took away Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin 2 people's divine soul imprints, he also undid the 2 people's bindings. Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin 2 people's heads drooped. They were very dejected. Now, they became Zhuan's servants. Their life and death were in Zhuan's hands. Now, they had no choice but to listen to Zhuan's instructions. Chapter 3491. 3 realms flower Qinyu in a spacious and quiet room. Zhuan sat cross-legged on a futon. Purple light flickered around his body. and his chest rose and fell rhythmically as he breathed in and out the surrounding energy. Zhuan slowly opened his eyes and muttered to himself strangely, I really didn't expect that the pill array Dao domain still has chaotic energy, although the purity of chaotic energy is not as good as the heavenly secret realm. It's much better than other Dao domains. At least my human body can cultivate here. Zhuan felt that it was inconceivable. The pill array Dao domain was in the starry sky of the lower realm and did not come into contact with the chaotic starry sky. Logically speaking, it was impossible for chaotic energy to exist in the pill array Dao domain. Zhuan knew that the reason why chaotic energy appeared was because of the pill array immortal monarch. The pill array immortal monarch should have used a supreme array Dao technique to connect the pill array Dao domain to the chaotic starry sky, so that he could seize a portion of chaotic energy from the chaotic starry sky and integrate it into the pill array Dao domain. There was a knock on the door, and Zhuan said indifferently, Come in, the door is not locked. Creak. The door was pushed open, and Zhu Wenlin walked in with a humble smile. Master, my master already has clues about the Three Realms flower Qinyu. You should be able to get it in less than 3 days. Zhu Wenlin said with a flattering smile. And Bu Yangrong did well. Also, do you have the whereabouts of the pill array true record and the 6 desires condensing divine pill recipe? Zhuan suddenly asked. Zhu Wenlin laughed dryly. Master, whether it's the pill array true record or the 6 desires spirit condensation saint pill recipe, they're both extraordinary. They're all in the hands of the city lord. That's the city lord of the pill array celestial city, a peerless expert whose talent is close to the pill array celestial lord. Even my master won't be able to get these 2 things for you. Zhuan frowned. He'd roughly found out from Biyangrong and Zhu Wenlin that the governor of Pill Formation City was called Duan Qingyao, and he was a monstrous genius in pill formations that possessed world-shocking talent. It was said that Duan Qingyao had cultivated both alchemy and array Dao to the half-step heaven-crushing stage in just a short 10,000 years. What was even more amazing was that Chang Yao was a peak 3rd blight cultivator. Such powerful alchemy and formation Dao combined with his terrifying cultivation would be heaven-defying. He would be able to fight against 4th blight cultivators. Moreover, he'd also found out from Bu Yangrong that Duan Qingyao wasn't the only half-step heaven-shattering expert in the pill formation Dao domain, and there were a total of 6 half-step heaven-shattering experts, including Duan Qingyao. Of course, the other 5 half-step heaven-crushing elites were cultivators that had been nurtured by the alchemy formation Dao region for countless years, and they weren't skilled in alchemy or formation Dao. With the foundation of the alchemy formation Dao domain, it was indeed very possible for it to nurture a half-step heaven-crushing cultivator. After all, its profession was alchemy, and it did not lack divine pills and miraculous medicines at all. With a large number of divine pills and elixirs, as long as a cultivator's talent wasn't too bad, their speed of advancement wouldn't be slow. Of course, many of the cultivators in the alchemy array Dao domain had joined the alchemy array Dao domain from outside. After all, after joining the alchemy array Dao domain, one would not have to worry about divine pills and miraculous medicines. They could be nurtured with all their might, rapidly increasing their strength. Of course, compared to the heaven-accessing mystic realm, the alchemy array Dao domain was still far inferior. However, it was far superior to the other Dao domains of the Xian, Mi heavenly domain, and the primitive heavenly domain. I'm not asking you to help me get the true alchemy record and the 6 desires spirit condensing divine pill recipe for me. I'm asking you to give me the specific whereabouts of these 2 things. I'll get them myself, Zhuan said indifferently. Zhu Wenlin's eyes flashed, and he said hesitantly, Master, why don't you wait for 3 months? 3 months later, the Celestial City Lord will hold a competition in the Celestial City. At that time, all the participants will have a chance to enter the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion. And whether it's the True Alchemy Record or the Six Desires Spirit Condensing Divine Pill Recipe, they've all been recorded in the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion with Master's Ability. As long as you enter the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion, you might be able to obtain the True Alchemy Record and the Six Desires Spirit Condensing Divine Pill Recipe. Oh, the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion? They belong to the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch? Zhuan's eyes lit up as he asked. Yes, the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion was the pavilion where the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch studied alchemy and set up arrays. After the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch mysteriously disappeared, the pavilion was inherited by the new Celestial City Lord. After that, it was passed down from generation to generation until it reached the hands of the current Celestial City Lord. Zhu Wenlin said in a deep voice. It's said that the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion contains the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch's lifetime creation of the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch, as well as a large amount of understanding about the Alchemy Array Celestial Monarch. It's the real supreme treasure in the Celestial City. In the past, the Celestial City Lord had never taken it out. This time, in the Celestial City Lord's competition, he actually took it out. It's really surprising. Then, Zhu Wenlin looked at Zhuan and continued, Master, if you want to, you can participate in the Celestial City Lord's competition with me. With Master's Alchemy Array Celestial City Lord, this Celestial City competition won't be too difficult for you. Help me register. My temporary identity in the Alchemy Array Celestial City is Buyang Rong's new disciple. I'm also your junior brother, Zhuowen said. Master, I don't dare. Zhu Wenlin trembled and said hurriedly. No matter. When there's no one around, you can call me Master. However, when there are people around, it's best to call me junior brother. Otherwise, I don't need to tell you the consequences. Zhuowen said coldly. Zhu Wenlin nodded quickly. Then, Zhuowen waved his hand and dismissed him. Zhu Wenlin respectfully left the room. 3 days later, Yang Rong really brought Zhuowen the Three Realms Flower Thousand Feathers. This made Zhuowen very satisfied. Master, do you really intend to take away the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record? Buyang Rong hesitated for a while after handing the Three Realms Flower Thousand Feathers to Zhuowen. What? Is there a problem? Zhuowen looked at the Three Realms Flower Thousand Feathers in his hand and said indifferently, Master, I don't doubt that you have the ability to take away the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record. However, you have to know that the True Alchemy Array Record is the only thing left behind by the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch. Its value is immeasurable. Even if you take it away, you can't take it away. As for the Six Desires Spirit Congealing Saint Pill, if you have the ability, you can take it away. However, you can't take away the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record. Buyang Rong was very serious, and his eyes were full of coldness. You're saying that even if I find the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record in the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, the Master of the Immortal City won't let me take it away. Is that what you mean? Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Buyang Rong nodded and remained silent. So what? I, Zhuowen, must get the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record. Whoever dares to snatch it away, I'll kill them. The Master of the Immortal City is no exception. If you have nothing else, you can leave now. Call me when the competition starts. Zhuowen's eyes were full of killing intent, and his voice was cold and ruthless. Buyang Rong sighed in his heart. He wasn't really worried about Zhuowen's safety. On the contrary, in his opinion, Zhuowen was dead for sure. He was only worried that after Zhuowen took away the remnant of the True Alchemy Array Record, it would implicate him. That would be a big trouble for him. After all, he was the one who protected Zhuowen and allowed Zhuowen to participate in the competition. If something happened to Zhuowen, he definitely couldn't escape the responsibility. However, Buyang Rong also knew that he couldn't persuade Zhuowen. Now, he could only take one step at a time. I'll take my leave. Chapter 3492. Immortal City competition time passed quickly, and 3 months passed quickly. During these 3 months, Zhuan had been cultivating in seclusion in his room. Of course, his main focus was still his human body. There were too many restrictions on his clone's cultivation. He needed the ancestral sorcery goo worms to truly cultivate and advance. At the same time, he would also take out the true pill array record to study and raise his pill array level. His array Dao level had already reached half-step Heaven Breaker, and he was mainly studying pill Dao. He had a feeling that his pill Dao was about to break through and reach a critical state. He only needed an opportunity, and his alchemy Dao would be able to evolve rapidly, leaping to half-step Heaven Breaker level. Moreover, the more Zhuan studied the true pill array records, the more extraordinary he found the true pill array records. He was sure that the pill array Immortal Monarch was definitely an extraordinary pill array Grandmaster. His level had already surpassed this starry sky. Zhuan had a premonition that if he could obtain the complete true record of alchemy arrays and study it thoroughly, his alchemy array level would very likely advance to the Heaven Breaker level. This was also why Zhuan urgently wanted to obtain the Pill Array True Record in the Pill Array Immortal City. Master, today is the day of the Immortal City competition. Come with me. Zhu Wenlin's voice came from outside the door. Zhuan stood up and opened the door. Zhu Wenlin respectfully stepped aside. Let's go. Where's Biang Rong? Zhuan walked out and asked casually. Zhu Wenlin followed behind and said respectfully, Master is a member of the Elder Group. Today he was summoned by the Grand Elder to maintain order in the Immortal City competition. Zhu Wenlin led Zhuan out of the Pill Array Hall and onto the streets of the Immortal City. Only now did Zhuan realize that the streets of the Pill Array Immortal City were bustling with people coming and going, and it was extremely lively. Today is the day of the Immortal City Grand Competition. Many people rushed back from outside just to participate in the Immortal City Grand Competition. Zhu Wenlin said with an embarrassed smile when he saw Zhuo Wen's strange expression. Everyone can participate in the Immortal City competition? Zhuo asked curiously. Yes, as long as one was a member of the Pill Array Immortal City and had reached the Dao Vindication level, one would have the right to participate in the Immortal City competition. Of course, there is also an age limit. They must be under 10,000 years old. Those old monsters who don't come out are not qualified to participate. Of course, only a small number of people were able to stand out in the Immortal City competition. Even I would find it difficult to get into the top 10. Zhu Wenlin said with a wry smile. Even you can't get into the top 10? Zhuan asked curiously. Zhu Wenlin's alchemy skills were not weak. They had both reached the peak of the creator stage. Compared to the other Dao domains in the Xianmi Heavenly Domain, this level was definitely at the top. Moreover, Zhu Wenlin's age was definitely not more than 10,000 years old. He was definitely a genius. Zhu Wenlin actually did not have the confidence to enter the top 10 in this Immortal City competition. The younger generation of the Alchemy Array Dao domain was a little terrifying. Not long after, Zhu Wenlin brought Zhuan to the southeastern part of the Immortal City, in front of a huge plaza. Behind the plaza stood an incomparably huge pavilion. Multicolored light flowed on the pavilion's surface, and it was filled with terrifying array Dao ripples. Zhuan's eyes were solemn. The array Dao ripples of this pavilion were very powerful, and it shocked Zhuan. The arrays set up here were all half-step Heaven Breaker arrays. Although Zhuan was already a half-step Heaven Breaker array Dao Divine Master, he knew that he would have to spend a lot of time and effort to break the restrictions on the pavilion surface. Moreover, he could faintly feel that there was a mysterious restriction power inside this pavilion. This restriction power was too mysterious and profound. Even Zhuan could not see through it. This is the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. It was the pavilion that the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch used to live in. It's the true holy land of the Alchemy Array Immortal City. Normally, the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion is not open to the public. Ordinary people can't enter at all. Only people with high status and authority have the right to enter, and the number of times they can enter is very limited, Zhu Wenlin said as he pointed at the huge pavilion in front of him. At this moment, there were many people gathered in the plaza outside the Pill Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion. Zhuowen carefully looked at the Pill Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion. He realized that although it was a pavilion, it was a tower-like structure with a total of 81 floors. Zhu Wenlin had previously introduced to him that the manuals in the Pill Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion were ranked from the bottom to the top. It was said that the top floor of the Pill Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion contained a remnant of the true Pill Array record. However, the restriction on the top floor was very terrifying. In the entire Pill Array Celestial City, only the City Lord Duan Qingyao had the ability to enter the top floor. Other than that, even the Grand Elder of the Immortal City, Yu Jinghuan, who was second only to Duan Qingyao in terms of Array Dao, had failed to enter the top floor to comprehend the remnant of the true Pill Array record. At the bottom of the Pill Array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion, there were white jade stairs that went up. On the stairs, there were 21 figures. The most eye-catching one was the old man with a long white beard standing at the front. Zhuowen saw Buyang roam among the 21 figures. He knew that these 21 people should be the elder group of the Immortal City. As for the white-bearded old man, he should be the leader of the elder group, the Grand Elder of the Immortal City, Yu Jinghuan. Yo, Brother Zhu, you still have the face to participate in the Immortal City's grand competition? I really didn't expect it. Suddenly, a mocking voice was heard. A group of people walked over from behind. The leader was a young man holding a folding fan. Zhuowen looked at the young man. He was no stranger to this person. This person was called Yu Ziqian. Previously, he had blocked Zhu Wenlin outside the Pill Array Great Hall and forced Zhu Wenlin to crawl under his crotch. At that time, Zhu Wenlin was already out of his wits. He actually crawled under Yu Ziqian's crotch and became the laughingstock of many people in the Immortal City. The moment Zhu Wenlin saw Yu Ziqian, his face turned green and white. He did not look good. Brother Zhu, you don't look good. I have a way to restore you to your normal state. Yu Ziqian chuckled. He lifted his trousers and spread his legs apart. He looked at Zhu Wenlin mockingly and said, Brother Zhu just needs to crawl under my crotch again, and Brother Zhu's face will definitely be rosy and full of energy. When Yu Ziqian said this, many people behind him roared with laughter. They did not hold back their laughter at all. Yu Ziqian, don't go overboard. How dare you humiliate me in public? Zhu Wenlin said angrily. Yu Ziqian chuckled coldly and said, Hee, Brother Zhu, it's fine if you don't appreciate my help. I helped you with good intentions, but you really treated my good intentions as ill intent. At this point, Yu Ziqian's gaze fell on Zhuowen, who was beside Zhu Wenlin. He continued, I heard that you have a new junior brother. It must be this guy. How about this? As a junior brother, you help your senior brother. Crawl under my crotch in his place and treat your senior brother's complexion. How about that? Zhuowen's gaze hardened, and he looked coldly at Yu Ziqian. Zhuowen had no interest in the conflict between Zhu Wenlin and Yu Ziqian, nor did he want to interfere. Chapter 3493. Crawl under his crotch. Yu Ziqian naturally noticed Zhuowen's cold glare and shuddered involuntarily. However, he was soon enraged. Zhuowen was ignoring him and leading Zhu Wenlin toward the Pill Formation Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. How reckless. All of you attack. Stop them. If they don't crawl under his crotch today, we'll beat them until they do. At Yu Ziqian's command, the 6 cultivators behind him rushed out and blocked Zhuowen and Zhu Wenlin's path. These 6 cultivators were most likely Yu Ziqian's subordinates. They were all very strong, at least at the creation realm. The leader was even an early-stage Ascension Master. They stood in front of Zhuowen and Zhu Wenlin with malicious intent. The early-stage Ascension Master said coldly, Didn't you hear what our young master said? Or are you deaf? Of course we heard it. Brother Yu Ziqian said he wanted to crawl under my senior brother Zhu Wenlin's crotch. My senior brother wasn't willing at first, afraid that Yu Ziqian's head would sully his crotch. However, seeing Brother Yu's enthusiasm, my senior brother had no choice but to reluctantly accept it. Zhuan was very calm. He gave Zhu Wenlin, who was a little stunned, a look. Zhu Wenlin came back to his senses and felt a little helpless. He could only do as Zhuowen said and spread his legs. He looked at Yu Ziqian and said, Yu Ziqian, if you want to crawl under my crotch, go ahead. Hurry up, I'm in a hurry. When these words were spoken, many of the surrounding onlookers were stunned. They looked at Zhu Wenlin and Zhuowan with strange gazes. Is there something wrong with your heads? I asked you to crawl under my crotch. What did I say? Yu Ziqian's face darkened. Before he could finish speaking, he felt a formless power surge into his soul, causing it to become disordered. Plop! Just when everyone thought Yu Ziqian was going to explode, Yu Ziqian knelt on the ground. His eyes were glazed over, and white foam was coming out of his mouth. He looked like an idiot as he crawled towards Zhu Wenlin. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Yu Ziqian squirmed between Zhu Wenlin's legs and back again like a pug. Zhu Wenlin was stunned as well. He glanced discreetly at Zhuowen, who was standing beside him. He knew that Yu Ziqian's condition must have been caused by this person beside him. Zhu Wenlin's guess was right. Yu Ziqian's spirit had been temporarily suppressed by Zhuowen. Furthermore, he had implanted the consciousness of burrowing into Yu Ziqian's spirit. Of course, this wasn't possession. This consciousness wouldn't stay in Yu Ziqian's soul for too long. Once the consciousness disappeared, Yu Ziqian would recover. Zhuowen's spirit was so powerful that it stood at the peak of the universe. Yu Ziqian's spirit was too weak. In his eyes, Yu Ziqian was nothing more than trash. The 6 cultivators who had been standing between Zhuowen and Zhu Wenlin were all dumbfounded. They stared incredulously at Yu Ziqian, who was squirming between Zhu Wenlin's legs like a pug. They were all flabbergasted. Yu Ziqian's eyes regained their clarity. Then he saw that his hands were on the ground, right below Zhu Wenlin's crotch. Yu Ziqian's body stiffened. His eyes widened, and his entire body trembled. Zhu Wenlin, you bastard! I'm going to cut you into pieces. Yu Ziqian tried to stand up, but Zhu Wenlin had already received Zhuowen's message. He stomped his foot on Yu Ziqian's face without hesitation. Yu Ziqian was in for a tragedy. He was already under Zhu Wenlin's crotch, so he never thought that Zhu Wenlin would be so shameless as to step on him. His face was caught off guard as the sole of Zhu Wenlin's foot came into contact with his face, and he was sent crashing into the ground. Yu Ziqian and Zhu Wenlin were about the same level of strength to begin with. In fact, Yu Ziqian was slightly weaker than Zhu Wenlin. Now that Zhu Wenlin had the upper hand, it was difficult for Yu Ziqian to shake him off. He struggled, but couldn't get up. Instead, his face hurt from the pressure. How dare you? The 6 cultivators flew into a rage when they saw that Yu Ziqian's face was being stomped on. They attacked without hesitation. However, before they could even get close to Zhuowen and Zhu Wenlin, they all fell to the ground and fainted. Many of the onlookers were in an uproar. This was too bizarre. These 6 cultivators weren't weak, but they'd all fainted as soon as they'd charged over. Was this all Zhu Wenlin's doing? Thinking of this, the gazes of the surrounding crowd turned grave as they looked at Zhu Wenlin. Brother Zhu, long time no see. I didn't expect you to have learned such a powerful soul technique. Congratulations. Just as Zhu Wenlin was stomping on Yu Ziqian, a young man in snow-white clothes walked over from the crowd. This young man in white was very handsome, and his skin was excessively fair. At this moment, he was looking at Yu Ziqian with bright eyes. It's Chu Xiangdi. He's the personal disciple of the 2nd elder in the elder group. Among the younger generation, his alchemy skills are second only to the disciple of the immortal city's great elder, Jiang Pingwei. He's very famous. This Chu Xiangdi is very proud and arrogant. He usually has high standards, but low skills. Why is he so enthusiastic today? Zhu Wenlin didn't expect Chu Xiangdi to take the initiative to talk to him. This Chu Xiangdi's talent was much higher than his, and he was much more famous. In the past, he had always looked up to him. The number of times they had spoken was no more than 10. Their relationship could be said to be very ordinary. But now, he could see that Chu Xiangdi was looking at him with a gaze filled with eagerness. He quickly thought of the reason. It must be because of what happened just now, which made Chu Xiangdi mistakenly think that it was him who did it. Just as Zhu Wenlin was about to say that everything that happened just now was Zhuowen's doing, he was warned by Zhuowen to not speak of it. Zhu Wenlin was helpless. He did not dare to disobey Zhuowen's orders, and could only force a smile. Brother Chu is too polite. Just now it was just a small trick. Brother Zhu is really modest. The soul is the most difficult to cultivate. For Brother Zhu to be able to learn such a powerful soul technique, I am very happy for Brother Zhu. Chu Xiangdi said enthusiastically. Zhuowen watched coldly from the side. He could tell with a glance that this Chu Xiangdi was approaching Zhu Wenlin for the so-called soul technique. His goal was not pure. Unfortunately, Chu Xiangdi did not know that the one who truly possessed a powerful soul technique was not Zhu Wenlin, but him, Zhuowen. Not at all, not at all, Zhu Wenlin replied rather courteously. At the same time, he kicked Yu Ziqian to one side. Zhu Wenlin, you mongrel, to actually dare plot against me. You're dead for sure. See if I don't beat you to death. After Yu Ziqian rolled several times, he immediately stood up and charged towards Zhu Wenlin in a rage. Smack! However, when Yu Ziqian just arrived in front of Zhu Wenlin, the Chu Xiangdi who was originally talking and laughing directly gave a slap over, sending Yu Ziqian to the ground. Yu Ziqian was immediately stunned. He looked at Chu Xiangdi blankly. Yu Ziqian, if you dare to cause trouble here again, I don't mind reporting this matter to my master. I want to see if Elder you will stand on your side, or my side when the time comes. Chu Xiangdi said coolly. Yu Ziqian covered his face and said in a low voice, Senior Apprentice Brother Chu, I was wrong. I hope that Senior Apprentice Brother Chu is magnanimous and doesn't take issue with my foolishness today. Yu Ziqian's heart was already overflowing with hatred long ago, but he did not dare to show it. Chu Xiangdi's master was in existence second only to the immortal city's head elder in the group of elders. His status and power surpassed his father's. He really did not dare to offend someone like Chu Xiangdi. Chapter 3494. Jiang Pingwei. Many thanks to Senior Brother Chu for your help this time. Zhu Wenlin cupped his hands respectfully. Chu Xiangdi's status and talent were above his. In the past, he had worshipped Chu Xiangdi, let alone now. All right, Senior Brother Chu, this is my junior brother. His name is Zhuowen. He's a disciple that my master has just accepted. Zhu Wenlin pointed at Zhuowen beside him and introduced him to Chu Xiangdi. Chu Xiangdi nodded slightly at Zhuowen and didn't pay too much attention to Zhuowen. If he didn't suspect that Zhu Wenlin had a powerful soul art, he wouldn't even pay attention to Zhu Wenlin, let alone come to befriend him. Zhuowen naturally saw through Chu Xiangdi's thoughts. He sneered in his heart, but did not say anything. Junior Apprentice Brother Zhu, just now, when you took down those 6 cultivators in an instant, you should have used some kind of soul mystic technique, right? Chu Xiangdi suddenly asked tentatively. Zhu Wenlin was stunned. Glancing at Zhuowen, he laughed dryly and said, Turns out that Brother Chu saw through it. I indeed used the divine soul mystic art. I obtained this soul secret technique by accident. It's damaged and the side effects are huge. Hearing this, Chu Xiangdi's eyes showed obvious disappointment. He smiled and said, Junior Brother Zhu, I wonder if you can lend me your soul secret technique. Zhuowen's brows furrowed slightly. This Chu Xiangdi really thought too highly of himself. He'd only just met Zhu Wenlin, and he actually asked for the divine soul mystic technique from the other party. It was a bit too much. Zhu Wenlin was speechless. He didn't know any divine soul secret arts. Everything just now was done by Zhuowen, and it had nothing to do with him. Chu Xiangdi had asked him for a divine soul secret technique, so how could he possibly take it out? Chu Xiangdi saw Zhu Wenlin fall silent, and said with a faint smile, "Junior apprentice brother Zhu." It was brother who was rude. However, I really need that soul secret technique right now. I hope junior brother Zhu can lend it to me so I could take a look. I won't treat junior brother unfairly. Zhu Wenlin remained silent while Zhuowen said, "Senior brother Chu, the competition in the immortal city is about to begin. Let's discuss this matter after the competition ends." Chu Xiangdi looked at Zhuowen and said coldly, "I'm talking to your senior brother. Why are you interrupting?" Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. Just as he was about to speak, there was an uproar in the surroundings, attracting the attention of Zhuowen, Zhu Wenlin, and Chu Xiangdi. At this moment, everyone's attention was on the periphery of the square. There, a group of people slowly approached. At the front of this group of people was a very luxurious palanquin. The four cultivators carrying the palanquin were all master transcendence experts. Zhuowen's eyes flashed with surprise. The owner of this palanquin seemed to have an extraordinary status. Even the people carrying the palanquin were Empyrean sovereigns. Zhuowen wondered who this person was. The moment Chu Xiangdi saw the palanquin, his eyes lit up. He couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with Zhuowen. He quickly walked towards the palanquin. The palanquin stopped in the middle of the square. Then, a beautiful figure walked out of the palanquin. This was a woman with skin as white as snow. Her hair was like a waterfall that danced in the wind. Her delicate and beautiful face was like a finely carved porcelain jade. Her hair fluttered in the wind, adding a sense of hazy spirituality. She was like a fairy in a dream. This woman was very beautiful. She was like a fairy who didn't belong to the mortal world. Even Zhuowen was shocked when he saw this woman for the first time. Zhu Wenlin, who was standing beside Zhuowen, had a mesmerized look on his face. He stood there in a daze. "Who is this woman?" Zhuowen asked in surprise. "Her name is Jiang Pingwei. She is the direct disciple of the immortal city's great elder. She is also the most talented genius among the younger generation in the immortal city. She has only cultivated for a little over 1,000 years. Her alchemy skills have already reached the peak of the creation realm. She is not far from the heaven-connecting realm. Her skills have even surpassed some of the elders in the elder group. And she is so beautiful. She is really..." Zhu Wenlin said in a mesmerized manner. Zhuowen was a little speechless. This Zhu Wenlin was acting like a love-struck fool. Zhuowen wanted a facepalm. Zhuowen sized up the beautiful woman who walked out of the palanquin. He had to admit that this woman's talent in alchemy was indeed very strong. In just a little over 1,000 years, she was able to cultivate her alchemy skills to the peak of the creation realm. This was not something an ordinary person could do. At this moment, Chu Xiangdi had already walked to the side of the palanquin. He looked at Jiang Pingwei eagerly and wanted to help her down. Jiang Pingwei smiled sweetly. Her jade-like hand gently avoided Chu Xiangdi's hand and landed on the ground. Chu Xiangdi did not mind. He hurriedly went up to talk to Jiang Pingwei. Jiang Pingwei had been very calm. Under the crowd's escort, she slowly walked to the front of the square. At this moment, among the elders in front of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion, the immortal city's grand elder, who was the leader, saw Jiang Pingwei coming. He stroked his long white beard and revealed a kind expression. What he was most proud of was that he had taken in such a talented disciple. She had given him a lot of face as her master. "I think it's about time. I will explain the details of this Immortal City competition to everyone." Immortal City's Grand Elder Yu Jinghuan spoke. He continued, "City Lord Duan is still in seclusion and will not come out easily. Therefore, this Immortal City competition will be hosted by this old man. And this Immortal City competition is very simple. It will not be as complicated as the previous years." At this point, Yu Jinghuan pointed to the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion behind him and said, "Everyone knows that this is the first time the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion is open to everyone, and the location of the Immortal City competition will be in the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. The Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion is where the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion used to refine pills and set up arrays. There are too many array Dao restrictions and pill fire traps inside. At the same time, there are many precious manuals, and the higher you go, the more precious the manuals are. This Immortal City competition is for everyone to enter the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion and search for your own manuals. Each of you will have the chance to bring out 3 manuals. Once 3 manuals are taken, you will definitely be teleported out. However, in the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion, the higher the level, the more precious the manuals are. And on the 81st level, there is a remnant of the true Pill Array record. As long as one of you has the strength to reach the highest level, the true Pill Array record will belong to that person. At this point, Yu Jinghuan paused for a moment. Everyone in the square was dumbfounded. The true Pill Array record was too famous in the Pill Array Dao region. It was said that it was the life work of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch and was very precious. This time, it was open to everyone. The Immortal City Lord of the Pill Array Immortal City was too generous. Yu Jinghuan was very calm. His words were just to motivate everyone. Chapter 3495, Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. Now, I will open the door to the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. After you enter, you can choose the books you want. However, let me make it clear that the restrictions in this pavilion are very powerful. If your Pill Array skills are not up to par, it is best not to enter rashly. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Yu Jinghuan reminded them in a serious tone. Then, he took out an array flag and took it out. The moment Yu Jinghuan made this move, the 20 elders behind him also took out array flags and took out array flags in unison with Yu Jinghuan. 21 array flags floated in the air, forming a terrifying whirlpool. Finally, the whirlpool landed in front of the door of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. Bang! 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 The surface of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion rippled with a strong array Dao, and it emitted a dazzling light, as if it was resisting the array flags. In the end, the array Dao ripples calmed down, and the door in front of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion slowly opened. Inside the door, a blazing white light shot out. It was extremely dazzling, and it was impossible to see what was inside clearly through the door. You guys can go in, Yu Jinghuan said indifferently. As soon as he said that, the restless crowd in the plaza impatiently rushed into the door. At this moment, in front of the plaza, Jiang Pinghui was not in a hurry to enter the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. Her beautiful eyes landed on Chu Xiangdi, and she softly said, "Senior brother Chu, is what you said true? Junior sister, when have I ever lied to you? That Zhu Wenlin most likely has a soul secret technique. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make those 6 cultivators faint on the ground from a distance. Those 6 cultivators' cultivation bases are even higher than Zhu Wenlin's," Chu Xiangdi said with an earnest smile. Jiang Pinghui nodded slightly, but her beautiful eyes landed on Zhu Wenlin, who was not far away. When she saw that Zhu Wenlin was about to enter the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion, she frowned and rushed out to stop Zhu Wenlin. Chu Xiangdi followed behind Jiang Pinghui. His eyes were calm, and no emotions could be seen. Originally, Zhu Wen and Zhu Wenlin planned to enter the Pill Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion, but they were quickly stopped by a beautiful figure. Junior sister Jiang? Zhu Wenlin's eyes widened as he stared at the beautiful woman in front of him in disbelief. He didn't expect that Jiang Pinghui would actually find him. This was too unexpected. One had to know that Jiang Pinghui's Pill Array talent and beauty were second to none in Pill Array Immortal City. Inside the city, countless young prodigies were in love with Jiang Pinghui. Even Chu Xiangdi, who was following behind Jiang Pinghui, was in love with her. Zhu Wenlin was no exception. However, in Zhu Wenlin's opinion, the gap between him and Jiang Pinghui was too big. He didn't even have the courage to get close to Jiang Pinghui, let alone pursue her. He had never hoped that Jiang Pinghui would take the initiative to look for him, because he knew that the probability of this happening was too small. But now, Jiang Pinghui actually took the initiative to look for him. Zhu Wenlin's heart beat very fast, and his face involuntarily turned red. Zhu Wen frowned slightly. He glanced at Chu Xiangdi behind Jiang Pinghui and guessed that Jiang Pinghui had come to find Zhu Wenlin for the so-called soul secret technique. Senior Brother Zhu, hello. Junior sister has something to ask Senior Brother Zhu. I wonder if Senior Brother Zhu has the time? Jiang Pinghui's voice was very gentle, and it made people feel like they were bathed in the spring breeze. Zhu Wenlin laughed foolishly, rubbed his head, and quickly nodded. Junior sister, feel free to ask. As long as Senior Brother Zhu can do it, I will satisfy you. Zhu Owen held his forehead, and he secretly cursed in his heart. This Zhu Wenlin was really a blockhead. Couldn't he see that Jiang Pinghui came to find him for the so-called soul secret technique? Seeing that Zhu Wenlin agreed so readily, Jiang Pinghui's beautiful eyes flashed, and she said with a charming smile, I heard from Senior Brother Chu that you have a soul secret technique. Junior sister, recently my Pillar Ray Dao is about to break through, but my soul secret technique is still lacking. I wonder if Senior Brother Zhu has the time to let Junior sister have a look at the soul secret technique? Senior Brother Zhu, don't worry. Junior sister won't take Senior Brother Zhu for free. I also have a remnant copy of Soul Secret Technique. I can temporarily leave it with you as a deposit. Jiang Pinghui lowered her posture very low, and her voice was even gentle like the sound of nature. Zhu Wenlin had long been turned all over by Jiang Pinghui's voice, his mind wandering. However, when he heard Soul Secret Technique, his entire body trembled, and his expression immediately changed. This Soul Secret Technique, he definitely did not have it. Even if he wished to take out 100 Soul Secret Techniques for Jiang Pinghui, he did not have it either. After all, he did not have this thing. Zhuowen's eyes revealed a look of interest. He was originally planning on letting Zhu Wenlin send this Jiang Pinghui away. But hearing that Jiang Pinghui actually had a remnant copy of a Soul Secret Technique on her, he was immediately interested. Junior sister Jiang, it's actually like this. Zhu Wenlin was originally planning on refusing, but Zhuowen interrupted him. Senior sister Jiang, I can naturally lend that Soul Secret Technique to you. Inside here is Senior Brother Zhu's remnant copy of Soul Secret Technique. I went to his place to borrow it a few days ago to view it. I want to learn it and haven't returned it to Senior Brother yet. Zhuowen took out a jade slip and handed it to Jiang Pinghui. This jade slip recorded a portion of the contents of the Soul Sword Essence. He had refined it on the spot on purpose. This portion of the contents could only be used for comprehension and could not be cultivated at all. After all, the contents of the jade slip were not complete. No matter how talented Jiang Pinghui was, it was impossible for her to learn the Soul Sword Essence through this portion of the contents. Jiang Pinghui took the jade slip and casually scanned it with her divine sense. Immediately, she revealed a look of joy. Although the contents of the Soul Sword Essence in the jade slip Zhuowen gave her were incomplete, it was very beneficial for her to comprehend and perfect her soul. Thank you. Jiang Pinghui thanked Zhuowen, took out a jade slip, and handed it to Zhu Wenlin, saying, This is the Soul Secret Technique that I obtained. Senior Brother Zhu, please take a look at it. Obviously, Jiang Pinghui did not take Zhuowen seriously. In her opinion, Zhuowen might be Zhuowen's servant, so she did not waste time talking nonsense with him. Zhu Wenlin took the jade slip and hurriedly waved his hand, saying, I trust Junior Sister Jiang. There is no need to check it. Zhuowen's forehead was full of black lines. This Zhu Wenlin was too unreliable. He was not prepared to check it. Fortunately, Zhuowen's soul was strong. After checking the contents of the jade slip in Zhu Wenlin's hand and confirming that it was indeed the contents of some soul secret technique, he withdrew his divine sense. Chapter 3496. Strange light spots, great elder. Jiang Pinghui is the most likely person to reach the top among all the people who have entered the pavilion of the Pill, Array Celestial. Let me congratulate you in advance. The second elder, Gong Yushu, who was standing beside Yu Jinghuan, laughed heartily as he cupped his fists at Yu Jinghuan. The other elders also congratulated Yu Jinghuan in advance. They all thought highly of Jiang Pinghui. After all, she was the best in alchemy array among the younger generation. Second elder, your disciple, Chu Xiangdi, is not bad either. I remember that his alchemy array skills have reached the peak of the creation grade not long ago. He is not weaker than Pinghui. Yu Jinghuan shook his head, although he said that his face was filled with gratification. Xiangdi's talent is not bad, but compared to Pinghui, he is still lacking. Great elder, you don't have to thank me, Gong Yushu said with a faint smile. Yu Jinghuan did not say anything. His gaze fell on the pavilion of the Pill Array Celestial. He had already noticed that 2 light spots had entered the second level. That's fast. It hasn't been long, and 2 people have already entered the second level. They should be Jiang Pinghui and Chu Xiangdi, Gong Yushu said with a smile. Yu Jinghuan nodded with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Jiang Pinghui was his favorite student, and the better the latter performed, the brighter his face would be. At the same time, the light spots on the first level disappeared, and a few rays of light appeared in the square. Those who had been eliminated were sent out of the pavilion of the Pill Array Celestial. As time passed, the number of people who were sent out gradually increased. The moment Zhuowen entered the pavilion of the Pill Array Celestial, he felt his body sink. A blazing white light rushed toward him, causing him to be unable to open his eyes. After his eyes had adjusted to the white light, Zhuowen could see his surroundings clearly. What appeared in front of him was a huge pavilion. Inside, there were rows of bookshelves. The bookshelves were made of white jade, and they emitted a crystal-clear light. They were bright and dazzling. Books were neatly arranged on the bookshelves. Zhuowen casually browsed through and discovered that these records were all related to alchemy formations. The pavilion was very spacious and bright, but Zhuowen was surprised to find that he was the only one in such a large space, and there was no one else around. But how was that possible? So many people had gone in, and the pavilion should have been filled with people. However, after he entered, he was the only one there. Zhuowen suddenly discovered that a book on the bookshelf in front of him had disappeared into thin air. After a while, one of the books on the other bookshelf disappeared, and he sensed the energy ripples of the array breaking. In other words, the restriction on the bookshelf had been broken right before his eyes, but there was no one in front of him. So that's how it is. You use formations to set up so many parallel spaces. Everyone who enters the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion will enter a corresponding parallel space, and the books in these parallel spaces are shared. Zhuowen came to a realization. It was because of the countless parallel spaces set up by the Array Dao, and because the books on the bookshelf were shared, that the books on the bookshelf in front of him had disappeared into thin air. To be more precise, they did not disappear into thin air. Instead, a cultivator from another parallel space had broken the restriction on the bookshelf and taken away these books. Zhuowen walked around and discovered that the books on the first floor were more basic and shallow. Even if he studied them, they would not be of much use to him. He only had the opportunity to obtain those 3 books. Among them, the True Pill Array Records and the 6 Desires Spirit Congealing Sage Pill Recipe were things he had to obtain. Moreover, these 2 books were very precious and were at the top of the pavilion. Zhuowen found a staircase in the corner. However, there was a restriction on the staircase. If he wanted to go up the staircase, he had to break the restriction. The restriction on the first floor was not strong. To Zhuowen, it could be easily torn apart. Zhuowen went up level by level. Soon, he arrived at the 20th floor. The books on the 20th floor were beginning to be interesting. At least, it had already aroused Zhuowen's interest. Not enough. Zhuowen shook his head and continued to climb up the stairs. He was very clear that if he wanted to find a book that was useful to him, he would have to go at least above the 60th floor. Following that, Zhuowen quickly went up, almost without stopping. Great Elder, there's a light spot that is extremely fast. It instantly surpassed the first 2 light spots. Who is this light spot? Outside the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, an elder in the elder group pointed at an inconspicuous light spot that surpassed the 2 light spots that represented Jiang Pinghui and Chu Xiangdi. The light spots represented by Jiang Pinghui and Chu Xiangdi were originally far ahead. At this moment, they had already reached the 45th floor. However, this 3rd light spot was very strange. In just 10 breaths of time, it actually went from the 20th floor to the 46th floor. It was 1 floor higher than Jiang Pinghui and Chu Xiangdi. Great Elder Yu Jinghuan also noticed this light spot. He frowned and said in a low voice, "This is really strange. There is actually someone who is faster than Jiang, Pinghui, and Xiangdi. This kind of guy in the Pill Array Immortal City is definitely not a nobody. Why have I never heard of him?" Yu Jinghuan thought for a while, but still could not figure out the identity of this light spot. Yu Jinghuan and Gong Yushu's body trembled. They quickly looked over and saw that the strange light spot had indeed reached the 66th floor. Moreover, it was still climbing. In just a short while, it had already reached the 70th floor. The 2 light spots closest to this light spot were still at the 50th floor. There was a difference of 20 floors. This difference was too obvious. Yu Jinghuan frowned. The higher the floor of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's Pavilion, the more terrifying the restrictions were. The restrictions on the 70th floor were already very terrifying. With Jiang Pinghui's level, it was actually a bit difficult for her to reach the 70th floor. Could it be that this light spot is really not Jiang Pinghui? He had no doubt that the light on the 70th floor was Jiang Pinghui, who was congratulating Yu Jinghuan. The other members of the elder group also followed suit, praising Jiang Pinghui's extraordinary talent and her future achievements. However, there was only one person in the Council of Elders who narrowed his eyes as he stared at the light of the 70th level. He seemed to be in a daze, and his eyes were filled with worry. This person was Bu Yangrong. Among them, he was the only one who knew that the speck of light did not represent Jiang Pinghui, but Zhuowen. He had already experienced Zhuowen's alchemy skills. It was definitely above his, and at least at the ascending heaven level. It could be said that Zhuowen was the genius with the highest alchemy skills among all the participants in the grand competition of the Immortal City. However, he could not say it, nor did he dare to say it. He could only watch silently. He was really worried that Zhuowen would reach the highest level and obtain the true alchemy array record. If that happened, then it would be really troublesome. Even the Immortal City Lord would be alarmed. That Zhuowen should not be able to reach the highest level. No matter how strong his alchemy skills are, can he be like the Immortal City Lord, whose alchemy skills are half a step into the ascending heaven level? Bu Yangrong shook his head and relaxed a little. He did not think that Zhuowen had the strength to reach the final level. As long as the true alchemy array record was not affected, then Zhuowen's performance would at most shock the entire Immortal City. It would not attract the Immortal City Lord's attention. At that time, this Zhuowen would not blame him and would leave the alchemy array Dao domain. Then, he and Zhu Wenlin would be truly free. If it's really Pinghui, then it's naturally for the best. If it's other young geniuses, then it's our Immortal City's fortune to have such a monstrous genius appear. Yu Jinghuan's words were very beautiful, and many of the surrounding elders nodded repeatedly. However, this light spot should have reached the peak, and it's unlikely that it will continue to rise. The Immortal City Lord has only opened the 70th level to the public. After the 70th level, basically no one can crack it and enter. Yu Jinghuan continued. His gaze was very calm as he spoke with assurance. Grand Elder, are you sure that the 70th level has been sealed by the Immortal City Lord? Suddenly, Gong Yushu's expression froze, and his gaze was very strange as he asked. Yu Jinghuan did not see the strange expression on Gong Yushu's face and said with some displeasure, "This is what the Immortal City Lord personally told me. Could it be false?" Gong Yushu smiled bitterly and pointed at the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. "Grand Elder, look over there. That light spot is moving again." "Moving again? Did he go down?" Yu Jinghuan turned his head and looked at the 70th level of the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch Pavilion. Very quickly, he was stunned. That light spot was indeed not on the 70th level, but it was not on the 69th level either. It was on the 71st level. In other words, the owner of the light spot had broken through the restrictions on the 70th level stairs and entered the 71st level. This fellow entered the 71st level? Yu Jinghuan was dumbstruck. He was truly shocked. He was very clear that after the 70th level, every level had an additional type of sealing power in addition to the ordinary restrictions. Moreover, the higher the level, the more terrifying the sealing power was. For example, the sealing power on the stairs to the 71st level was already at the late-stage Heaven Ascension level. The following levels would only be more terrifying. But now this light spot had actually entered the 71st level. It was obvious that he had broken through the sealing power. Didn't that mean that the cultivator represented by this light spot was at least at the late-stage Heaven Ascension level? This was even higher than many of the elders in the Elder group. Grand Elder, Ping Hui's alchemy array skills have increased too quickly. He has already reached the late-stage Heaven Ascension level. Gong Yushu also found it unbelievable. Chapter 3498. Finding the elixir formula on the 75th floor, there were only 5 bookshelves. All the books were at the middle stage of the Heavenly Ascension level and were extraordinary. However, Zhuan did not care about them. Moreover, there was no elixir formula for the 6 desires spiritual condensation Saint Elixir on this floor. Zhuan continued to move forward. He had to admit that the sealing power on each floor was more terrifying than the previous one. When Zhuan reached the 79th floor, the sealing power had reached the peak of the Heavenly Ascension level. After Zhuan broke through the sealing power, he jumped to the 80th floor. The space on the 80th floor was not as big as the previous floors. There was only one bookshelf, which was made of some kind of precious golden jade. There were not many books on the bookshelf. There were only a few dozen books. However, every book was at the peak of the Heavenly Ascension level. If they were in the outside world, they would be treasures that people would fight over. Most of the books here were about elixir formulas. Only a few of them were about array formation. Zhuan's eyes lit up. He saw a familiar elixir formula on the left side of the bookshelf. It was the elixir formula for the 6 desires spiritual condensation Saint Elixir that he had been looking for. Zhuan was delighted. He started to break the restriction on the surface of the 6 desires spiritual condensation Saint Elixir. The restriction was not strong. It was only at the peak of the Heavenly Ascension level. Zhuan did not spend too much time to break the restriction on the surface of the elixir formula. When he got the elixir formula, he was overjoyed. He knew that with the elixir formula, Moyan Wushang could be saved. After all, he had gathered all the ingredients for the 6 desires spiritual condensation Saint Elixir. Now, all that was left was the steps to make the 6 desires spiritual condensation Saint Elixir. Zhuan kept the elixir formula solemnly and looked at the stairs in the corner. He knew that the stairs were the last obstacle to the 81st floor of the elixir array Celestial Monarch's Pavilion. On the last floor, there was the remnant of the true elixir array record. Zhuan wasn't in a hurry to enter the last level. Instead, he carefully read through the other books on the bookshelf. He chose a book called The True Explanation of the Alchemy Tao of Past Generations of Immortal City Lords. Zhuan's alchemy Tao was still a bit away from breaking through to the half-step Heavenbreaker tier. He urgently needed more complete alchemy Tao manuals for him to comprehend and break through. And this book just so happened to satisfy his requirements. He knew that the past lords of Immortal City were all pill formation grandmasters who were half a step into the Heavenbreaker realm. The quintessence scriptures they wrote would definitely be of great benefit to him. After taking the 2 books, Zhuowen walked to the stairs. When the light faded, everyone realized that it was Chu Xiangdi. Chu Xiangdi's eyes were filled with excitement. He should have found a suitable manual in the Pill Formation Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. Chu Xiangdi walked to Gong Yushu's side. His gaze fell on the 50th floor of the Pill Formation Immortal Monarch's Pavilion. He smiled and said, "As expected of junior sister Jiang, she can actually reach the 50th floor. The first place in this competition will definitely belong to her." Gong Yushu sighed softly and said, "Xiangdi, look at the 80th floor. Jiang Pingwei won't be the first place in this competition." Chu Xiangdi was stunned and subconsciously raised his head to look at the 80th floor. He also saw a flickering light spot there. It was like a star. Someone entered the 80th floor? Who is it? Chu Xiangdi's eyes widened in disbelief. He could not help but exclaim. Gong Yushu shook his head and said, "I'm not sure either. We can't think of it. Now we can only wait. When the light spot on the 80th floor appears, we will know the true identity of this person." Suddenly, the entire square was in an uproar. It was very noisy, like a roaring wave. "That light spot has entered the 81st floor. My God, this is too unbelievable." In the square, it was unknown who said this sentence, but it attracted the attention of countless people. Then, the entire square quieted down. When the elders saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air and became mute in an instant. Yu Jinghuan's body trembled. He stared at the light spot on the 81st floor. He opened his mouth, but could not say anything. He was too shocked. He was shocked. Bu Yangrong, who was in the elders' group, was extremely pale. He thought to himself, "It's over." When the square fell into silence, standing in the center of the Pill Formation Immortal City, in the deepest part of the huge Pill Formation building, a man in a long robe suddenly opened his eyes. In his eyes, there seemed to be an endless sea, mysterious and deep. Someone actually reached the last floor. How did this person do it? I need to go and take a look. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.